Hello. Haha. It's Wednesday. The big hump day. Hello, Bigley. Welcome. Hello. Happy Wednesday to you. It's a gorgeous, overcast, drizzly day here in the Isle of Ireland. I hope it's sunny where you are. I'm really excited because it's our second day back on regular stream. We've got some fun things planned today. Specifically, I'm going to be going through every single game setting in Star Citizen in excruciating detail. Excruciating. It's a little breakfast joke for you. It's corporate humor. Deal with it. And I'm the boss, so you have to laugh at my shitty jokes. And then we're going to get into some bounties, hopefully, on the PU. We're playing on the live servers today, and if they're not friendly, we will switch over to PU. So, if you're ready, let's get to work. All right, let's try that again. I was saying how Bigley has enjoyed the luxury of my my techno trip that I'm on this morning, and she said nope. That's what her response was in chat was. You would have seen her response, but not had the luxury of my witty banter before I was previously muted. All right, so I was saying, like, what really kind of spurred me into wanting to go deep on the settings of the game today is that I've been going back and forth between PTU and live servers of the PU. And if you played PTU, then you know that there's a tendency to switch things back and forth. And often it messes with your game settings and stuff like that. So I've had to like redo them. And I feel like every time I redo my settings in Star Citizen, I do them slightly differently. And sometimes they're better. And sometimes I'm missing things, and that really has a significant impact on the quality of your gameplay, not just in the quality of the product that you're experiencing, but in your ability to actually effectively play the game. So here's a perfect example. I've ground up to HRTs, or high-risk targets, on the live server with my little Aurora, my 4-gunner, and I was having a really hard time with HRTs. In the meantime, I've got a hostess set up, a hand-on-stick and stick, or Twinsticks setup. I have a Tobii eye tracker, and it all was just slightly out of calibration, and that was making it really difficult for me to target things, to maneuver properly, and I was getting owned in these HRTs. So I got on with a very rare opportunity to play off stream the other night. I had about 45 minutes to play, and I spent 40 of it just trying to fix settings. It was really frustrating. So we know that there are lots of videos and guides around the interwebs where you can find people's settings and get walkthroughs of those settings. But what I found more valuable than that is actually understanding what the settings are and what they mean so that I can tweak them to my specifications or my preference. Because what works for streamer A or creator B in their settings might not necessarily work for you in your setup, and you're going to be in a much better position to do that properly if you understand the settings. That's my approach to it anyways. So we're going to jump right into it today, and I've got a few resources up here that we're going to review also. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these and we're going to look them up, and we're going to find out what each of them do. So we're going to go Star Citizen cinematic cameras. And if you know what some of these are, or if you've had a similar type of experience, then by all means, please do let me know. Speak up in chat. Ask any questions that you have as we go through it. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's get big on the browser screen here. Okay. All right, so we're just cruising through a couple of Reddit threads here to see what this is. Now, this one's talking about advanced camera controls. This is slightly different. Slightly different than what we're looking for. And we might do a couple of videos here as well. We'll just see what speaks to us here. This one's not really giving us an answer, but here we go. The cinematic camera. So cinematic cameras in general, I think, affects how the in-game third-party cameras operate. There is also advanced camera control, which is by default holding your F4 button. And that's typically what I would use for things like capturing screenshots or particular in-game footage that I want. But I don't know what it means by whether or not there are cinematic cameras actually available in the game. All right, I think we're going to just chill on the techno for a bit here now. I'm already technoed out. I think I know what Bigley was experiencing earlier. Okay. All right, so we know we'll go into advanced camera controls a little bit later. Oh, this is interesting. We'll grab that for later. But these still aren't really... Still aren't quite the options that I'm looking for. So let's see. Advanced, let's take it straight from the horse's mouth, as it were. With 3.0 out. Wow. December 24th, 2017. Imagine. Depth of field. All right, so I'm going to assume, unless we learn otherwise, that the cinematic cameras refer to the third-party cameras in-game and as you're playing the game, with a little bit more sweeping motion, and probably enable those multi-axis cameras when you're in advanced camera mode, and I do want that. So we're going to go ahead and turn cinematic cameras on. Vibration really speaks to, well, visual vibration in the game. As a general rule, I turn this off in absolutely every game I play, so we'll keep that off. Really, visual vibration or any kind of gameplay related triggered vibration, while it might seem immersive, usually is reductive in your ability to actually play the game. So I always remove that stuff. Camera spring movement refers to third-party camera collision. So if you're next to a wall and you wheel the You wheel the camera around. This relates to how quickly and how responsively the camera springs back and forth to and from your model when it experiences something in the environment that it collides with. If the camera's sweeping around and hits a wall, that it sweeps into your character until it's away from that wall. We'll just double check my thoughts on that one. Camera spring movement. Okay. Also relates to the look ahead movement. Conditional triggers for the spring movement. That's what it's talking about. Okay. So if you think about how look ahead works for your character when you're moving and your character automatically will look in the direction you're traveling in, camera spring movement works similarly. So if you're in a third-party camera or using a third-party camera, it'll automatically pan or track the camera depending on where your movement is. And we don't always want that, so for that reason, I'm going to leave that off. These are really just visual quality options. They're not going to make a huge impact on your game performance as such, but it's definitely a preference-based item. So camera spring movement there. Show hints. Obviously, if you want to see the hints, the loading tip hints, if you're a new player, I definitely recommend it. I find that they've become repetitive, so I feel like I've seen them all. So I turn those off because I don't really need that screen clutter. Subtitles enabled, self-explanatory. If you want subtitles through the game whenever there's any kind of vocalization or communication from an NPC, it's going to drop subtitles to help read those. Obviously, personal preference or need. I don't, and again, for me, it's reducing screen clutter, so I will turn subtitles off. Now, as a streamer and a creator, sometimes chat or my viewers have a preference for having that on, because they might be watching with the volume low or off, and I'm fine to turn it on in that case. So if you are watching and you would prefer to have subtitles on, if that makes it easier for you to review and enjoy the content, then by all means, I'll be happy to turn those on. Contextual dialogue subtitles. That's a good one. I don't actually know. Like, I know what I think it means, but this is about getting into the grit of what these settings mean specifically. So let's go ahead and take a look. Contextual dialogue subtitles. Okay, I've kind of found what I'm looking for here, actually. This is something that I had been looking for before I started stream today. So this is actually pretty good. Here, I'll show you this. From Star Citizen Tools, this is effectively the wiki of the game. And I actually shared this out in a TikTok that I shared it in the top 4 websites that I think every Star Citizen should have bookmarked. This is one of them. And for good reason, too. So this is a little bit dated. And, of course, with every patch, there are always new settings coming in and showing up in various iterations. So we want to we always want to kind of be refreshing this when new settings are added. So, but in this case, I think a lot of this probably still stands. Okay, so cinematic cameras follows a missile fired by a long key press. That's pretty interesting, actually. So we do have that on for now. Contextuals add subtitles to NPC audio dialogue. So I guess what it means then is if you're in an area or environment with NPCs where NPCs are present, then it's going to give you those subtitles. We're going to keep those off anyway because, like I said, I prefer not to have the screen clutter. But if viewers chat or anybody else checking out my content has a preference to have those subtitles enabled, please do let me know. I'm happy to turn them on for that benefit. Cockpit audio subtitles, that's the ship for both systems. So when your ship is talking to you, you're going to get subtitles for that. Again, we're going to disable all those for now. Same rule applies. Ship entry labels enabled. So what this means, let me get back here. So we're right here now. Ship entry labels enabled. With every ship, there are one or two at least points of entry to the ship, and sometimes there are ramps, sometimes there are doors, sometimes there are ladders, hatches, all and everything in between. Sometimes there are docking ports where you can enter, or airlocks and docking collars. What this does is it allows those entry ports to be labeled visually on screen. I find that quite helpful, not just because you might be new to a ship and not actually know how to get in. It's a very real thing and perfectly reasonable. But if you park your ship and you travel away from it, or you're elsewhere in a building, let's say you go deep into a space station, starship, or a bunker, or on a planet, you're still going to be able to see those ship entry labels superimposed, and sometimes that can actually help find your ship. So I leave this enabled for a variety of reasons. Text input repeat delay. Let's take a look. I'm not actually sure what that means. We're going to have to look it up. I believe this simply it means like in the chat function, or if you have like chat like slash commands that you're using in console. So let's take a look. High five. What's up? Sila, hello. Did Sila redeem a high five?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that come through. Why? Oh. Why didn't I see that come through? Did you see that on Twitch chat?
Yeah, it's on the chat.
Hi, Sila. Good morning. Hello. Top of the morning to you. How are you today? Happy Wednesday. I'm going to have to figure out then why I didn't see that. Let me... Oh, I can see it on this one at least. Why isn't that showing up? Aww. All new channel points and redemptions coming next week as well. We have a lot of really great evolutions for the stream. You're going to see all that come into effect. Some cool new transition sequences, a new show flow format, and new more interactive point redemptions, and a couple of new widgets and programs that I'm bringing into the stream as well to really kind of jack up that interactivity. How you doing? You hear a Bigly? Yes. And you saw the disembodied Bigly hand. Give Sila another wave over here, Biggs. There you go. the strong hand of Bigly. Yes. Thing. How have you been, Sila? What's new? How's your week going? Are you on break from the teachage, the tutelage? Yeah, this is an interesting one. Text input repeat delay and text input repeat rate. It looks like they are keyboard inputs, whether you're doing slash commands or repeating keystrokes through macros, I guess, or working in console. This will prevent them from spamming at too high a rate or not registering properly, I guess. This looks like it might be a bit antiquated, actually. It looks like it was brought in a couple of years ago to combat ghost inputs, and it's probably just stayed there ever since. In any case, I always leave this at default, and I've never really had any issues. Yeah, it looks like macro. Okay, so the application I can see for this is if you're using a third-party program like like the voice. Oh my god, I used to use the app. Oh my god, it's like the voice command thing where you can issue a command and it'll execute a series of prompts or a series of actions. This will define how frequently those inputs can be registered by the game. Like I said, I haven't really run into any issue with that, and I believe it is in seconds. Yeah, so we'll do a little bit more investigation on that one. But like I said, I've never had any reason to change these, and I've never had any issue with it. So we'll move on from that one. The rest are action toggles. They're mainly personal preference. Your sprint toggle, your crouch toggle, and your prone toggle. Obviously, sprint, crouch, and prone are action states in first-person mode. And this just defines whether or not you have to press the button once or hold the button to activate it. So I hold the button for sprint. So I have the toggle off. I have the toggle on for crouch and prone because I like to hit it once and go into those states. The reason is because that's how I play most of my FPSs. That's what how my key bindings act for games like Apex Legends, Escape from Tarkov. They're toggle options. The only difference here is aim down sights. For Apex, I use a hold. I hold for ADS, and for Tarkov, I toggle ADS just because in Tarkov, there's a lot more mechanics like leaning, crouch height, walk speed that you have to manage while you're aiming down sights. You don't really have to do that in most other games. Star Citizen included, except for leaning, but it's not as meticulous as a game like Tarkov. So in those types of games or Call of Duty, anything like that, I have hold down for ADS. So that's why my toggle's off for aim down sights is not toggle. Interaction mode toggle. This is when you press whatever key you have bound to interact with your environment, whether it's pressing buttons, calling an elevator, things like that. I have that on hold because I like to be able to very quickly interact and then get out. I don't have to tap and untap, basically untoggle every time I go to interact with something in the game environment. Lean toggle I have on because, again, it frees up my fingers to do other things on the game, on the keyboard when I'm in first-person mode. So if I'm leaning, then I can ADS, I can shoot, I can hold my breath, I can throw a grenade, I can do all these things that I can't do if I'm holding the key. Now, the only exception I make there is if I had foot pedals, I might assign my foot pedals to lean, and then I would have it as a hold because then I can control this action with my foot pedals, which is really neat. That's something that I'm looking to add in Tarkov, and it would probably benefit me here in Star Citizen also. Weapon mount. Use FPS-style mouse rotation instead of the turret. If you're on a mounted weapon in the game, it will default to acting like a ship turret. And ship turrets have some inertia. They have that I don't know how to explain it. I'm just going to make sounds that describe what I'm talking about. Like they have when you're in a ship turret, it has that. But when you're in a mounted gun, you want it a little bit more responsive. So I want that mounted gun to feel a little bit more like first-person mode when I'm holding a gun or I'm shouldered. So that's why I have this set to use FPS-style mouse rotation instead of turret for weapon mounts. The star map zoom speed literally just means how quickly you zoom in and out of your locations when you're viewing the star map alone. That's it. Silo, you're exhausted. No, not on a break. Oh, this is it, right? Like, man, our teachers need a break, y'all. We must value them. Have to get yourself moving and ready for the day in a few. No doubt. What time is it there for you? Ooh, it's quite early. That's around my start time, or the start time I shoot for is usually like 5, but lately it's been like 6 to 7. I've been bad on it, but any big plans for the week then, or the weekend? You have sporting littles, so I know keeping them on top of the athletics schedule is a job on its own, right? Flight coupled mode toggle. So I always have this on, even if you're not going to use, or you're only going to use flight coupled mode. And the reason is it's always good to be able to have the control to turn something like that on and off. Quick primer there. Coupled mode is your ship's ability to adjust for your trajectory, your velocity, and your hover by automatically using your ship thrusters to stabilize your ship. So if you are flying in space, we have what I think it's called like neutronic gravity or neutron gravity. Or Newtonian. Maybe it's Newtonian. Sorry, science folks. I probably just destroyed that. But basically, if you move something forward in the vacuum of space, it'll continue to move forward and even pick up speed until an opposite force is acted on it, right? So when you're in coupled mode, your ship automatically adjusts for that. So if you take your foot off the gas, then your thrusters will engage to stop your ship. If you're in atmospheric flight and you take your foot off the gas, your thrusters will engage to keep your craft airborne. If you turn off that capability, then none of those stabilizing features apply. So if you stop your thrust in atmosphere in a ship and you don't have coupled mode on, your ship's going to drop because gravity is going to pull you into the ground. If you're in space and you start to go forward and you stop applying energy, then your ship is going to continue with that momentum. Coupled mode has a lot of really great benefits, but it tends to be a little bit more advanced in the game. For new users, I would always keep coupled mode on. It's just going to give you more, it's a little more forgiving if you forget what direction you're traveling in, or even that you're traveling in a direction, which happens a lot more often than you might think, especially when you're in space and you don't have many references like a city skyline to gauge your position on, or a starship or a space station to see like where you are in relation to space. So I would keep coupled mode on if you're new, and keep a toggle on for it so that you can turn it on and off and play around with it. But that's really all that means. HOTAS thrust invert toggle. If you are using HOTAS, which stands for hand on throttle and stick, it just means you can choose if pushing forward makes you go forward or pushing forward makes you go backward. I don't know why. Some people have a preference for that. For example, I always use inverted pitch in flight games. For some reason, it's more natural to me to think when you pull back on a stick that the nose of your craft goes up, and if you push forward on a stick, the nose of your craft goes down. That's the only setting that I usually invert, but that's really what that means. Is it's going to default to forward is forward, back is back, but if you want, you can change it to forward is back and back is forward. Or if you find your controls get swapped, it can be useful for that too. So a couple of uses for it right there. Flight G-Safe defaults on. G-Safe is like coupled mode for G-forces on your craft. So with G-Safe, it forces your plane to, or your craft to restrict your velocity to avoid you from blacking out or redding out due to G-forces in the craft. If you have that on, it's going to take some of your player agency away, your ability to control your ship in the way that you want to, in the interest of protecting you as a pilot. Again, a great option for new flyers, new pilots. As you start to evolve and get a little more practice, you might want it off. I find there's rarely now a situation where I want my craft to do something that I didn't tell it to do. So I usually have most of these off, and you'll see that's why I have this off here. Defaults on is toggled off. Flight G-Safe disable while boosting. This is kind of a happy medium. So if you want to have it off, but you just want it to kick in when you're boosting so you don't red out or black out in your craft and end up in a death spin or something like that, you can always turn this on too. I have this disabled because I've learned how to manage blackouts and redouts and G-forces in the craft. So I don't go into that. Like I said, I want to have full control of my craft. I'm at that point where I'm ready to assume full control of my craft, and I don't want my vessel doing anything I didn't tell it to do. Let's see. Speed limiter defaults on. We'll talk about that. On the left-hand side in your thrust, you get that little box. That's your speed limiter. You can set it to not allow your craft. It's like a governor. It won't let you go past a certain speed. But again, I usually prefer to have that off because I use thrust control. It gives me real thrust control with my sticks. It gives me great ability to manage how fast I'm going or not. Sometimes I will use the speed limiter, though, if I'm low flying and I want to make sure I don't go over a certain speed so I lose control of my craft, that kind of thing. Because when you start to redline in your thrust meter, you lose agility, you lose the ability to corner quickly and the maneuverability of your craft. So we'll go into that when we get into the game here. But that is what the speed limiter is. I have it defaults to on because I have a lever on my stick where I just push that up to the top anyway. So it doesn't really affect me until I engage it. Proximity assist defaults on. Proximity assist is the capability of your ship to adjust your trajectory or which way you're facing or where you're seated based on what's around you. The most relevant example of this that I can give is when you're in a docking bay and you're trying to take off, and if you're still close to the ground, you can feel your ship being pulled back down to the platform, right? You'll fly up a little bit and then it'll pull you back down to the platform. That's proximity assist. I don't like that because I've started doing low flying, and when I'm close to the ground, that will artificially pull me towards the ground. Also, I just don't like that idea of the stickiness that it feels when you're trying to take off for the platform. Again, a great option for new pilots, gives you a little bit of help or assistance when you're trying to learn how to land, take off, and watch out for corners, not smash into walls and things like that. It'll give you a little bit more of a buffer and try to slow your ship down when you're close to a collidable object. But otherwise, as you start to evolve more and experience more as a pilot, you probably want to turn it off eventually. I have that default to off so that I don't have to set it to a toggle and turn it off myself in game. It's just always off. I never use it. Flight space brake engages boost. Another great setting if you're new to flying. What this does is when you're trying to pull back on the throttle or slow your craft down quickly, it'll also engage your boost. I have this off because what you need to be conscious of is when you engage your boost is a limited resource, right? Like your afterburner. So if every time you pull the brakes on your craft to slow down and it engages your boost, it runs the risk of running through that entire allotment, that entire resource. And then if you need to boost forward, you might run out. You might not have it when you need it. So I don't really need that. Just plan your brakes accordingly. Get a good lead on where you're going. Start to slow your craft down to a reasonable speed. And you won't really need to engage boost every time you brake. And it's an on or off thing, which kind of sucks too. So if you're constantly running your boost every time you try to brake your craft, then you're going to run out of that all the time. You're always going to feel like you have no boost left. And if you find that in game, you're always feeling like your boost is out or you're depleted, you've got no afterburners, that might be causing you the issue. Every time you brake, it's using up that resource on you. Flight coupled mode defaults on. I keep that off. Like I said, I like to be able to toggle coupled mode on, but I have it defaulted off because I prefer to fly without it. Once you get used to flying, you might find that more and more. This is where it gets a little bit dicey. So pilot ESP is enhanced stick precision. This is like aim assist in the game. So when you're playing in the game, this is exactly like when you're playing, let's say Apex or something on a controller. It has that buffer around a target where it'll slow down your cursor to help you aim more effectively. Mika, pleasure, lurk away. Thank you very much for hanging out. I hope you're having an amazing week, and we'll be here whenever you're ready. So thank you very much. Appreciate your support. So ESP, the zone size, speaks specifically to the radius around that target where that effect starts to happen. So if you think like, here's the target in front of you, and we've got a radius of, let's say, about 5 degrees. And then I move my cursor out here, and it moves really quick. The minute I hit that bubble, it slows my cursor down so that I can get more precise with my aiming. That's what that means. So that radius, that ESP zone size means how far out do you want it. Ideally, as you get better and better at the game, you really want to restrict that zone size, because you're going to feel like every time you get close to a target, it's going to be like charging through jelly. You know, it's going to be really tough to move through it and find your target. But it's great when you're just starting, so it gives you a little bit more of a forgiving angle to find your targets that way. The next piece is relevant to that. The dampening curvature it defines the strength of that assist. So if you want just light assist, you can turn that way down. If you want heavy assist, you can turn it up so it really slows your cursor down. Or if you just want a little bit, you can elect for a little bit. That's what ESP zone size and dampening curve means. VJoy is not something I started using once I moved away from mouse and keyboard. VJoy is, or virtual joystick, shows you the virtual angle. If you're using a mouse, you'll see some streamers, some creators, and they have like their center cursor, and then they have a little line that looks like a rubber band. And as they move their ship around, that rubber band kind of elongates and closes. That just basically tells you you're pulling the ship this way. You've got this much before your cursor catches up, and then you see your cursor catch up. It's like this is where you're trying to go, and this is where your ship is facing, because there's always inertia. If we think about moving a ship in space, we look up, and then we pull the stick, and then the ship slowly kind of corrects to where we're facing, right? That's what VJoy does. Think about it as like it's almost like a lag, a delay that pulls your view around, and that's why you see that line, that kind of elastic-like line. That's what VJoy is. I don't like it when I'm using stick and like Twinsticks because I don't need it. You don't really need it if you're using another control input. If you're using another control input, including like a gamepad, you want where you're looking to be where you are in that moment. You don't want to move to where you're going to be in 5 seconds. You know, that's the best way I can put it. But if you do use it, then the range dictates how far that line will go, how far it will let you go out, so how quickly your ship starts to move. And the dead zone determines how long before your ship starts to respond to that line. So you can, if your VJoy range is very high, then you're going to have to pull, you're going to be able to pull that line a lot longer, or rather than having a shorter line that moves closer to your cursor. If your dead zone is higher, you're going to have to pull that almost to the entire end of its length before your ship also starts to move. That's what dead zone means. Dead zone's a buffer around whatever control we're talking about before the system responds to the input you're giving it. So if my dead zone is here and my controller is here, the minute I move my controller out of that dead zone, the action happens. If my dead zone's like this and my controller is here, then it's not going to move until I hit the edge of that dead zone. It's going to go bop, and then it's going to move. That's what dead zone means. The velocity indicator is a really useful pip that will show effectively what direction your ship is going in. This is especially important if you're using uncoupled mode. If you're moving forward, it's going to be like a bow tie. And that's going to show you basically where your ship is going. Because like I said, with that inertia, if your ship is moving forward and you have an input to make your ship move up and to the right, it's going to take some time before your ship kind of corrects on its course and starts to move up and right. So the velocity indicator will show like where your ship is ultimately heading. And it's really good to learn because you can put that pip where you want your ship to go, regardless of what direction your ship is facing right now. And there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that, especially in combat. If you want your ship to go this way, but you want to turn and fire on an enemy as you're drifting away from them. That's just one such application. If you're landing in a bay, you can put the pip on the bay, and no matter where you're facing, your ship's going to go basically into the hangar or into the landing pad, whatever you want. Just make sure to stop before you actually fly into the landing pad. There's also a reverse indicator, which is like a reverse bow tie or angled brackets like this. When you see that, it means your ship's actually moving backwards. And we'll see all this stuff in game too. Once we jump in here. Okay. We talked about VJoy. It's the same for drivers, same for turrets, mostly if you're using mouse and keyboard. Turret ESP, same rule applies. This is enhanced stick precision either way. It's that dampening, that aim assist, if you want to call it that way. All the same. Defaults relative to mouse mode. Mouse input just sets it back to the default that you're using for your mouse controls. The salvage ones are new in 3.18.1 or 3.18 in general. And we haven't gotten into salvaging yet, so I'm not going to go too far into this one. Well, we'll come back and review those at a later time, or this whole stream is going to be going through menus. Vehicles, weapons, default convergence distance. Convergence distance is the space between your turrets, like the barrels of your weapons, and the point where they all come together at a central location. So if you think about like an X-Wing or a Scorpius, let's say, I think is the Scorpius, it's kind of like the X-Wing of Star Citizen. Anyway, you have 4 turrets that are spread out from one another. They're quite a distance apart. If you're looking at a target in front of you, then obviously you want all those lasers to come together, those blasters to come together on your target. This is what you're deciding. What is the default convergence distance for those to hit? It really only affects anything you can't target. So you don't have to worry about this for ship-to-ship combat or anything where you can lock a target, because then your pip is going to define that. Your turrets are going to face wherever you want them to face. This really specifically right now only has to do when you're attacking ground targets, i.e. players who are out of a ship on the ground, because you can't lock them. So you need to determine like, okay, well, if your ship turrets have no lock, where are they going to join on? And the reason people usually suggest you keep this to the lowest it can be is because if you're attacking like Marines or players on the ground, you're probably going to be within 100 meters of those targets. So this lets you just have an idea of where your lasers are going to come together. That's really it. The bottom line is I would set this to 100 and forget it. Spaceship weapons gimbal mode. By default, gimbals, which are like adjustable turret balls that allow your weapons to move independently of you and your ship in an area of attack, have three modes. There's auto, manual, auto, target, and locked. When they're locked, the gimbals are locked in a fixed position. It'll use the direction your ship is facing. If they're on auto, which is usually ideal for gimbals, they'll be allowed to move freely and use the gimbal targeting system to find a target. And you have a much bigger window where you just have to put the target in the window and the gimbals will find the target for you. Much easier to aim. The downside with gimbals is if you're using gimbaled weapons, you have to downgrade your gun size by one level. So if your ship can accommodate level 5 guns, but you want to use gimbals, you're only going to be able to use level 4 guns. So there has to be some kind of caveat. You get basically aimbot at the trade-off of slightly reduced power. My Aurora MR has gimbals because it can only accommodate size 1 weapons anyway, so there's no net loss and therefore no reason to not have gimbaled weapons for just the chill factor. But my Gladius, for example, has size 3 guns and I want full size 3 guns on it, so those weapons are fixed. And the gimbal toggle is the same for each application of it, whether you're in a turret or whether you're in a vehicle, always the same. Or same rule applies, you can change them for each one. Okay, look direction is something I haven't really dabbled in. So here's what this means. When you have look direction or look ahead, let me pause that. Gimbal mode to force using look direction means that the gimbals will be forced into the same cone of what you can see. And usually I had that on. I don't have any ships with like rare guns or anything like that where this would be affected. So I haven't really gotten into that. Default slaving for gimbal mode. If you have turrets that are remote, this will basically force them to move in concert with the rest of your weapon system. So good to have that on there. Using look direction, force using look direction. I leave all this and then just change the gimbal setting in my cockpit. Armed missile count can loop. Some missile launchers can fire more than one missile at a time. You have the option of determining how many missiles in a payload you choose, whether it's 1, 2, 3 at a time, whatever. When you're selecting that, it goes up in sequence. So 1, 2, 3, 4 missiles in a set. What this means is that if you reach the max, it'll go back to 1. That's all. As opposed to hitting 4, not letting you do any more, and then you have to remove. I always have it on loop, because if I accidentally put up 2, I'll just hit it twice more and go back to 1. That's all it means. Desired impact point direction. I've never gotten this to work for me. I always have it on look direction because whenever I'm dropping a bomb or firing a torpedo, I'm always looking at my target at some point before I release it. So I always have this on look direction, always. And I've never really had any issue with it. I don't know if it's working or not, or if I just haven't used the type of craft that can benefit from this. So, vehicles targeting, enable crosshair animation. I don't like additional movement or animation on my HUD, so I have this off, and it keeps my crosshair static, which is especially useful if I'm using gimbaled weapons that move around on their own. So if you have a gimbaled if you have a gimbaled weapon system that's kind of doing its own thing, and your crosshair is also like doing this like open and close thing, it's really distracting to me, so I turn that off. Aiming, default lead and lag type. There are 2 types of aim pips. So when you're trying to acquire a target in space and ship-to-ship combat, the pip is going to show you basically where you have to fire to hit your target based on how your target is currently traveling. Obviously, things in space are always moving, right? We're always moving around our target. Our targets are always moving around us. So we get a pip that helps us say, okay, you need to fire here just ahead and fast to hit your target based on where it's flying. Because if you shoot it where your target is now, by the time the laser bolt or the blaster bolt gets to it, it's going to be long gone from that spot, right? Shoots where your target is heading, not where it is. That's what a pip does for you. There are two versions of the pip, though. So one will give you a pip, a target to fire at that is measured based on where your target is traveling. So you can shoot at the target, and that will be a head. That will register a hit or should register a hit. That's lead pip because the pip is leading the craft you want to hit. Lag shows where your actual shots are going to land. So you will move your crosshair and you'll see the pip on your target tell you whether or not you are positioned properly. Really what this means is the first version, the lead version, you have to aim away from your target. It tends to be a bit better if you're in like PvP scenario and you're fighting small ships because they very frequently go off your screen and you want to know where to shoot. The lag pip is good because it lets you keep your eye on the target because the pip's actually going to exist on the target, not ahead of the target. But the challenge is if the ship goes off screen or flies behind you, you have no visibility to it at all. So you don't really know when to start pre-firing until you can actually see that ship. For that reason, I prefer lead because I do a lot of ship-to-ship combat, and I find lead is a lot more effective when the ship that I'm trying to fight is out of my field of view. If that doesn't make any sense, ask me. I'll be happy to clarify. And I will be doing some content around this too, because like I said, you can find any amount of guides or articles on the web that'll tell you what to set these to for optimal this or optimal that. But the truth is, these settings are very much preference. So what works for me might not work for you. And the only way you're going to learn to really optimize these controls for you is to understand what they do, not what they should be set to. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're doing that today. And if you have any questions at all, by all means, let me know. All right, moving ahead. Where was I? There we go. Default lead lag type. So that's what the aiming default lead lag type means, and that refers to the pip. Default pip combination type. This is kind of goes back to what I'm saying. If you're using a gimbaled weapon system and you have a fixed weapon system, this will determine whether or not you see two separate crosshairs. So you get a crosshair for what your gimbals are doing, and you get a crosshair for your main for your fixed weapons rather. When I'm controlling weapons as a pilot, I don't really want to know what things are doing differently. I want all my weapons to be trained on my target. So I have one pip per weapon type. I usually do average pip for all weapons if I'm going to do it. Really, I only use fixed or gimbaled weapons. So eventually my gimbaled weapons are going to be pointing where my fixed weapons are pointing anyway. So I have one pip per weapon type. So at most I have like two different pips working on my screen. And you'll see that when we jump into game here in a bit. The next one are visual information based on your targets. I always have these on because I want as much information as I can get about the targets I'm fighting. So I want to know their heading, show heading. I want to know their distance, how far they are from me, show distance. I want to know the name of my target, so show name. And I want to see the trail, which is going to tell me what direction they're flying in. So you get that like kind of vapor trail or whatever it would be, like stardust trail. I don't know what it's actually called then. And then you're going to get a lot of information from them, which way they're facing, how far they are from you, and the call sign of your target. That's especially useful to me as somebody who plays with a milsim organization, because when I'm making contact calls, I need to identify very quickly what their call sign is, what the vessel is, where they are in relation to where my flight is, where they're heading, and whether or not they're hostile. That all comes to me in a glance between my MFD or the HUD element and the visual lock that I have, if I have these enabled. Vehicles targeting auto selection behavior, use look direction. I have this on because I have an eye tracker. This is really I think this is really only effective if you have some kind of eye tracking software. If you're using look ahead, it can be unpredictable. But effectively what this means is there are two types of targeting, we'll say, in the game. There's selection and then there's lock. And you'll notice this when you're flying around. If you're looking at targets and they kind of blip up and they highlight, That's not locked. That's just selection. So that's just saying like, okay, you're looking at this target. And then if you lock it, it'll say, okay, this is your target. And then you get all the extra information that comes with it. So keep that in mind. Oops, I just activated Siri by accident. I don't know what she is. Or not Siri. I'm not an Apple. I'm an Android. Anyway, I accidentally just like called up my auto search on my phone. Okay. So I use that because I do have eye tracking software, so it's quite helpful for me. Pinning overflow behavior. This is like if you're pinning, you can only pin, let's say 4 targets. And if you try to pin a 5th, it'll overwrite the first if you have overflow enabled. I have it disabled. Honestly, I never pin more than like 2 targets, so I've never encountered this. But I also don't want my pin targets overwritten if I forget that I've actually pinned another target. I just have hotkeys pinned to 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or I just have pins hotkeyed to 1, 2, 3, and 4 buttons. So I know like, oh, I'm going to pin this person to 1 or pin this person to 3. I never run into overflow issues, so I have that disabled. But that's what it does. Auto zoom on locked target. I personally hate this, so that's why I have it disabled. What auto zoom on locked target means is if you are locked to a target, remember we talked about selection and locking. If you select a target and lock it, over time, the longer you stay locked on that target, your camera will slowly start to zoom in on that target. I hate it because it tends to crop out all your MFDs or multifunctional displays, your screens in the cockpit, where your shield information is, your target information is, your power information, things like that. It used to drive me crazy, and I could not figure out how to disable it until I found this setting. So that's what auto zoom means. If you're finding that you're in a dogfight and slowly you're getting like this tunnel vision, it's likely that you have this enabled. Preference, I don't like it. And then you can adjust the max zoom level of that, like, so how strong that is if you want to. I have it down to 0 just because it doesn't matter because I have it disabled. But if you have it enabled, you can actually adjust like how much of that tunnel vision you get. I choose no tunnel vision. Okay, so now we're getting into look ahead, and this is kind of like this is if you don't have eye tracking software or the ability to manage where your camera is focused, look ahead comes into play. Or if you toggle your eye tracking on and off, which I often do, this will kind of replicate that naturally. What look ahead does is the system will read where you're moving, and it'll naturally look as though your pilot would look ahead to see where that travel is intended. So if you're in your cockpit and you start to pull back on the stick, and your ship is rising in pitch, your pilot will start to slowly look up. It's really helpful, actually. I recommend you play around with it. If you have eye tracking or head tracking software, then that's the purpose of that software and hardware. So you don't really have to worry too much about this. Like I said, it might be helpful if you toggle it off and then this will kick in instead. But I haven't really played with that. So that's what look ahead means. Look ahead strength VJoy is like VJoy. It'll show you where your look ahead is going. The forward vector, velocity vector, all of these speak to the strength of that effect. So velocity vector, if you're moving fast, it might move forward or back. If you're looking into turns, if you're turning either through your yaw, if you're like strafe turning, or you're rolling into a turn, it'll adjust into that. Rolling into turns, your head will turn, your camera will tilt. It just adds like a little bit of a level of foresight and immersion if you don't have tracking software. And all of these speak to that. If you have a target, it'll try to track to your target. It's quite handy, actually. And it's cheaper than, Tobii or TrackIR or any of these other kind of systems. The other options are look-ahead options for different game states, like turret or driver in a vehicle. Obviously, I have them all turned off, but the same rule applies for all of them, so we can just apply what we just discussed to that complete sweep. G-force-induced head movement. Anytime, much like vibration or screen shake or blur, I turn it all off. I don't want any artificial visual effects that aren't intended when I'm in a game that relies on me being able to pick targets and be twitchy. For that reason, I've taken off G-force-induced head movement. What that would mean is if you're experiencing G-forces, it'll force your head to move in a certain way and adjust into those G-force movements. The only benefit I can think of that is to have some kind of visual cue that your body is experiencing G-forces rather than having to look at the little G-force indicator. But realistically, you're going to either red out or black out. So you're going to know if you're pulling Gs that are detrimental to you. I don't like this, so I turn it off. Same reason for G-force induced afterburner zoom, global camera shake. All of these are like visual effects that I don't want to happen unless I make them happen. So I turn it all off. Vehicles exiting combat seats require a hold of 250 milliseconds. I always keep that on. That simply means if you have the button for your exit seats, you're going to have to hold it rather than tap it. And I like that because what if you're in combat and you accidentally tap that button for whatever reason and suddenly you're in the middle of a dogfight or you're trying to get away from a bad situation and you slide back and exit the cockpit? Like, I just don't want that to happen. So I always have this on. You just hold it for a couple of seconds and then your character will exit the seat unless you're bugged. And then you get somebody to punch you in the face or something. Show party nameplates. Like I said, I always like to have as much information on my targets as possible, so I always have these on. Show party nameplates. I always want to see the nameplates of my party members so I can see wherever they are in the verse or wherever they are in a mission objective. Party nameplate distance, I have it maxed to 100,000. This is not really relevant to like meters or feet or kilometers or anything like that. I think it's just a vast distance. It may be kilometers, actually. I've just never really tested it because I've never been more than 100,000 kilometers away from my party. So I don't even know if we have 100,000 kilometers from one edge of stand to the other right now, but hey, there you go. Show friendly contact nameplate. Yes, I have all my nameplates up. If there's any other ship in the space, I want to be able to see who it is, whether it's friendly, hostile, etc. Show contact distance. Like I said, when we have a target, we want to know how far away it is. Because our weapons have range, we want to know how much of a threat it is or how close we have to be to assist. So that's why I always want to have that contact distance on as well. Emissions HUD display signature values. When you're in your cockpit, you'll see those 3 bars at the top. There's electromagnetic, there's infrared, and there's cross-section emissions. So this really is basically the sensor size of your ship or how soon you will register on someone's radar. That's important. I like to have the values there because otherwise it'll just show a percentage. The values are important because the values directly relate to basically the sensor size of your ship, and that's going to tell you directly how many yards away you will register. So if your EM and your cross section's a hard value, your cross section's literally the physical structural cross section of your ship, the size of your ship. But the EM and the IR values, the electromagnetic and infrared values, are additive. So if one is 5,000, the other's 5,000, then your combined signature is 10,000. And that means generally you're going to start to show up on someone's radar when they're within 10,000 kilometers of you. That's basically how that works. Yes, kilometers. Sorry, 10,000 meters of you. 10 kilometers. That's what I mean. 10,000 meters of you. So when you're flying towards your target in a bounty and you're at like 17K, 16K, 15K, 12K, and you get into 10K, 9K away, rest assured you're going to start showing up on the radar and they're probably going to lock you around that time. So it's very handy to have that information, I find. All right. So yeah, that's emissions HUD. Display signature values, your ship signature. Lock ping controls to scanning mode. I'm always pinging when you send out a ping, that bloop bloop, and it scans out over the horizon and the terrain and all that stuff. I use that often no matter what combat mode I'm in. It allows you to register things on your signature or your scanner that are usually further away. It helps you identify hostiles from friendlies. It helps you identify the ground if you're flying in a dark, low atmosphere scenario and you need to know where the ground is. So I always like to ping. I'm pinging constantly. You'll see that when I play. I don't want to lock that to the scanning mode. The scanning, like there are 3 different modes, right? There's pilot mode or normal mode, missile operator, and scanning. I don't want to lock ping just to scanning. It doesn't make sense to me. So I always have that off because I want that available to me no matter what state I'm in. Show scan wave highlights on vehicle contacts, like I said, and FPS contacts. So like I was saying, that ping, when you send out a radar ping and you get that like highlight, that like wireframe kind of flow that goes over the map, it usually scans like material objects or rocks or minables and things like that, geometric values in the game world. I also want it to return vehicle contacts and FPS contacts or players, out of ship players on the ground. So enabling that allows my ping to return that information as well. So it'll not only highlight anomalies and rocks in space, but it'll also highlight vehicles and players. This is great most of the time, but if you're just mining, you might want to turn it off because it won't necessarily show you what the highlight is. It'll just show you that something's there. And if you're mining, you're only interested in like rocks or geometrical formations, things like that. You might not want all that information in your ping. So you might toggle this on and off depending on what role you're focused on at that given moment. Okay, and that's all the game settings. That's literally every game setting we've gone through. We're going to move into graphics. Graphics is pretty straightforward. Again, the goal is not for me to tell you what these should be for you. It's to help you understand what each of them do so you can decide for yourself what the best optimization is for your style of play, your system, and all that good stuff. All right, graphics. Gamma is somewhat like exposure. Gamma is kind of like a blend of brightness and contrast at the same time. It tends to bring out background detail like clouds, walls, impact marks, things like that. Brightness is quite literally the brightness, the overall brightness of your screen. I never really touch this, and I advise you not to. A lot of people have this idea that, or it's natural to have this idea that if you jack up your brightness, then you'll be able to see better in the dark. It's not the case. Brightness is an absolute value, and it'll just wash out your screen. So if you find that your game is looking a bit washed out, your brightness is probably too high, and your contrast is probably not high enough. Contrast is a center point between darks and lights, so how vivid things are and how that separation is on screen. If it's too high, everything will be blacked out. If it's too low, everything will look grayed out and weird. I keep this centered as well. In fact, the only thing I change is the gamma, because the natural gamma in this game is a little bit high for me, and this just creates much better much better contrast. So the only exception I would say here to my rule of not telling you what to set on, telling you how it works, is probably start with this on 30, 50, 50. A lot of users have these values, and it's a great starting point. And then when you're in game, just adjust it by like 1 or 2 at a time. Don't adjust it by like 10 and then go back and forth between your screen. You'll very quickly understand how this affects your visuals. Keep in mind it's independent of any third-party settings you might have, whether it's like NVIDIA game settings or AMD Vivid gaming mode, things like that. So just be mindful of that. Your resolution, this is contentious. I advocate to just keep this at the natural resolution of your monitor. My monitor is 2560 by 1440. Make it whatever your monitor is. Some streamers have established this like trend of stretching out their resolution. So they'll do weird resolutions like 1600 by 900, things like that. The reason they do that is because it makes them look like they're moving faster and they're more responsive and effectively playing better than they are most of the time. Some creators will argue that like it gives them better field of view, but the reality is it kind of adds a bit of a fisheye effect to the edges of your screen if you stretch it out that way, unless you're playing in ultra wide. And then and they like to feel like it makes it look like they're moving faster. But all it's going to do for you is affect like your ability to target and hit a target. So if you're stretched, then it just slightly offsets your hit registration, or like where the pixels are on your screen versus where your mouse is actually clicking on. So just keep the resolution at the resolution of your monitor. Do yourself a favor. That's my TED talk on it. Window mode, straightforward. There's full screen, borderless, and windowed. Always keep it full screen as much as you can. Full screen in most games, if not all that I've ever played, just forces your system to deploy all its resources on that game. If you're in windowed or borderless mode, then it treats it as a multitasked application, and we never want that in our games, right? We want all that beef to go into the game, especially a game like Star Citizen. Quality is interesting. So if you're really trying to maximize your FPS or make sure that you're squeezing out every ounce of performance, the instinct is to turn quality down to low, but that's not always the case. And quality is a very blanket term statement for a lot of things that are happening in between. oftentimes having a baseline quality setting higher will yield better performance than turning it down. I keep this at very high because realistically, this is just a baseline, and then everything underneath is going to help us define what kind of goes into that equation. So I keep this at very high. I imagine that you will find that if you turn this to very high, you won't notice much of a difference between very high and low, because really everything underneath it is the granular setting that's going to change how the game actually reacts for you. Scattered object distance. This determines what level of detail is applied to how many objects rendered in the world and for how far away from you. I keep this medium because I do like to create the content. I want it to look good. I find my system performs well at medium, and I want to be able to see those details at a medium distance. The lower you set this, the less objects your system has to render in high detail, based on how far they are. But keep in mind, if you're moving quickly, it's going to have to render more things more often, more quickly. So if you have it at medium, you can handle medium, then your system doesn't have to render further out until you get there, So it's kind of a sliding scale. High is very seldomly a good choice for most, unless you have some kind of a banger system that can make all those renders at very high and very far distances. So if you got a baller system, you might still even struggle with that. All that means is it's going to render at high value objects that are much further away, i.e. far more things at once. Tessellation is, I have to look this one up. I believe tessellation is how light bounces off of textures. Okay. Right. Okay. So tessellation is an artificial effect that makes far distances look 3D. My understanding is this has really no real impact on performance. It's an artificial 2D layer that adds fake shadows to distance objects so that they look like they're 3D, like rocks, trees, things like that. I have this on medium. I've never noticed any real effect in performance on it. So I think, and I've had it at high, I've had it at low. Really didn't matter. It's negligible. So I keep it on medium or keep it on low. Play with it. See if you notice any difference. Let me know. Planet volumetric clouds. This is very much a performance affecting creature. With the new changes to Orison and Crusader, as well as gas clouds, Lagrange points, environments, things like that, they introduce volumetric clouds, which create these really cool, fluffy, immersive clouds in the game. Unfortunately, what they also do is just kick the shit out of your system. They take a long time to render. They change and ebb and morph in real time. It's a hell of a lot for your system to handle. I turn these off. If you're finding jitteriness or stuttering, I guarantee if you turn these off, and these are on, if you turn them off, it'll clear it up like that. I promise you. So if you're finding that you have planet volumetric clouds on, even if they're low or medium, which is the lowest, come in here, turn it off, and see if that fixes you up, because that's why I leave it off all the time. Even on the lowest setting, it introduces stuttering and shakiness for me, so that's no good. Field of view is an interesting one. This is literally how much of the game environment you can see from your character's perspective. The higher the field of view, the more you can see, but the more your system has to render. This almost directly has a one-to-one impact on your game performance. If it's too low, your vision's going to be pretty narrow. It can be frustrating, but I always recommend starting on low, because even 85 is a pretty good field of view, especially in a first-person type game where you're really seldomly going to be looking outside of your peripheral anyway. So try it on 85, see how it goes. If you feel like it's claustrophobic, then slowly start to open that up. I usually keep this for any game, whether it's Apex, Tarkov, anything like that, around 80 to 90. There are two things that happen when you increase this. Number one, your system's going to have to render a lot more things in each screen that you're facing, so it's a performance hit. Number two is it naturally will make things look smaller, so objects that are further away are going to be smaller and harder to see on your screen, which is important to consider if you're in FPS mode or sniping or aiming in any kind of scenario. So keeping the field of view lower is actually going to help you pick out and identify targets a little bit easier regardless of how far they are away until they're very far. So I like to keep that low for that reason. It's just been something I've gotten used to in FPS games in general. Like I said, Apex, Tarkov, Star Citizen, doesn't matter. Motion blur, you heard me say my piece on this. Anything that artificially adds visual effects that I don't want to happen, I turn off. Motion blur is one of them. I don't like, especially when you have a high FPS game or you're trying to get high FPS. What's the point of having that crisp high FPS if you're just going to blur the hell out of it, right? Motion blur off always. That's my go-to. Every game, I never play with motion blur on. VSync, again, general best practice is to always turn it off. VSync basically tries to create an average of how fast things are rendering on your screen and how fast your monitor is actually refreshing your screen. So sometimes if your system is trying to refresh faster than your monitor can keep up with, it can cause tearing or this weird, like, you know, your screen will look cut in half sometimes. If you find that, you can turn VSync on. What it will do is try and speed up the fast components and slow down the slow ones so that it eliminates that screen tearing. But it can also cause a lot of issues like hit registration issues, input lag, and stuff like that. So always recommend having it off unless you absolutely can't play without it. Sharpening and chromatic aberration, I always say, are like fake settings in games. They're not really, but like they're just so unneeded. Sharpening artificially sharpens the edges. Usually we have anti-aliasing, which does that anyway, smooths out edges and makes things nice and crisp. Sharpening tends to artificially add rendering need into processing what your system's doing. So I usually skip that altogether. Why? It makes no difference. The visuals in Star Citizen are plenty good without it, so why bother? Chromatic aberration is the effect of when light is striking an object and it creates almost like a halo effect around that object that carries some of the color. That's chromatic aberration. So if you're using a camera, let's say, and you're on a sunny day and you just see slight halos or slight reflections where the colors blend through the viewfinder, that's chromatic aberration. Again, I think it's a visual effect that's really cool in photography and in real life. It makes things look beautiful, but I really dislike it in my games because it's just extra artifacts on screen that I don't need. So I turn all that off. It saves me any kind of performance hit that might go with it. And most importantly, it reduces screen deformities or distractions that I just don't need. Film grain, exactly the same thing. Film grain just adds like almost that filter of like cinematic quality to your game, which is great if you're watching a movie, but I hate it if I'm playing a responsive game where I want to like edge out every quality of frame that I want. I want to keep my FPS high, my frames per second high. I want to keep the crystal clear imaging. I don't want stuff that's just going to artificially distort it in any way, even if just a little bit. Session information QR code, I've never used it. I think it's a troubleshooting mechanic. If you need to relay information about what's happening in a session, it'll give you a QR code to scan and send to SIG support. I guess I think that's it. I've never used it. I've had no need for it. So I just turn it off, obviously. I think it's a troubleshooting logging component. So if somebody from SIG is trying to help you with something or somebody is trying to help you troubleshoot something, they ask for that, then that might be where you apply it. Audio, really straightforward. Not going to go too far into this. Master volume, all audio. Sound effects volume, things like ship canopies, gunfire, thruster engines, things like that. Music volume, the music of the game. I turn this down because I have my stream playlist going. Speech volume is character speech. This is character speech volume, so NPCs in the game. Ship computer speech volume is your AI voicing in the ship. Simulation announcer volume, there are sim chairs. I haven't used them, but that's the announcer volume for that. Race mode commentary, self-explanatory if you're into racing, which we will be into soon. Dynamic range suggests, think about dynamic range as the audio version of like rendering. So if you have a full dynamic range of audio, then you're getting all of the audio cues, the positional audio, the ambient sounds and everything. It's kind of rendering all of that stuff in your headphones. I always keep this full. Audio processing is far less intensive than visual processing, obviously. So I don't think you have to worry if you have a decent set of headphones. I don't think you have to worry about keeping this stuff on high, affecting your game performance. Device optimization, I just set this for whatever device you're using. You don't really want to be pushing like 5.1 surround sound channels through a dual channel headphone, like a left and right stereo headphone. It can cause all kinds of creative, all kinds of distortion, glitches, things like that. Oh, hello, Rave Scully. Welcome. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the C-Suite. We're happy to have you on board. Thank you for coming in today. Pleasure to have you. Welcome. Rave Scully, say hello. Thank you very much. Appreciate your support for hanging out. Hopefully this is helpful. If you do have any questions, thoughts, or anything to add, by all means, please do. Otherwise, we'll continue, and I hope it's some benefit for you. All right, the ship computer verbosity just means how talkative your ship is, really. I have it on high. I've never really messed with this. I don't have any kind of issue with it, so I just keep it high. I don't know what life is like without it, but it doesn't really annoy me. If you find the chatteriness or the chattiness of your ship to be a bit of a pain in the ass or annoying, you can always turn it down, and it'll only give you like critical prompts, basically. Hello, I'm still learning. I'm doing bunkers. What a good way to make money. Also, how's your day? Yes, I love bunkers. I love bunkers to switch things up. My day is going swimmingly. Thank you so much for asking. We have a whole bunch of new things. We're evolving this stream in real time. I've been streaming off and on for about 5 years. And I've recently just come back to it with a focus on Star Citizen content specifically. So you're going to see the stream elements, the screens, the alerts, the prompts, and the point redemptions become a lot more interactive and a lot more Star Citizen focused. And of course, my angle is as a professional who works in the gaming industry. That's kind of my bag here as well. User 0181. Art thou a bot user? In any case, we do welcome AI in the modern marketing and the modern world of business. So welcome to the C-Suite. You've been appointed to help guide this corporation through the stars into fruition, into a fledgling org to a prosperous corporation. Thank you for joining us today. Is there another way to grind money? I don't have an org or anything. There are many ways. I have if you check out on my YouTube channel, here, I'll give you my socials. I just dropped beep boop. Hello, welcome user. Thank you. Validated. Hello user. Check out my YouTube channel. I've just posted recently a new player guide, which takes you through your first couple of hours in the verse. It's very short, punchy, and it'll get you up to bounty hunting ship bounties. So like you're doing now with bunkers, which are great, ship bounties tend to be a faster yield, and you can do them all the way up to very high-risk target, depending on how proficient you are as a pilot. But those tend to be really great at ripping in and out of and banging out cash pretty quick. The key to think about when you're doing ship-to-ship bounties is you only have to kill your main target. So if you're doing ship-to-ship bounties and you get up to like LRTs and HRTs, which stands for low-risk target or high-risk target, they tend to be more ads, right? So more mobs. You only really have to get in, take down the main target, and then get out of there to get the credit for the bounty. So that makes them pretty quick to rapid fire. And then I'll be doing some more guides on that in the future. There's a way, when you get to ERT or extreme risk target, the main target is always a hammerhead. It's really tough, takes a long time to take down unless you can spend your first $3.5 million on an Aegis Eclipse, fit it with size 6 torpedoes, and one torpedo will take down a hammerhead. So we'll get into that a little bit later. I don't want to confuse it if you're just getting started. Running with the bunkers, really good. 6K. Oh, so he's feeding you the high rank bunkers. That's a great way to make it too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's so the Aurora MR is actually the ship that I built my new player guide around to. That's the one that I have also. Cheat Fox TV coming in for the morning coffee. Get your caffeine on. Wednesday coming in strong like whoa. Happy Wednesday, Cheat Fox TV. Thank you for joining. Yeah, he's T5, so he's got those like big banger. Yeah, he's got those high roller missions. That's the way to do it, dude. That's the way to do it. You have amazing vibes. You have amazing vibes. Bigly likes it. You have amazing vibes, my friend. I'm so happy you popped in today. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. All and any questions you have, lay them on me. It's just going to continue to get better and better as we go along. So come back often. Stick around for the free coffee. And the shoulder dances. I'm a bit of an expert shoulder dancer. I'm just saying. Yeah, so I like I like ship to ship bounties personally. But honestly, I haven't really done many of the other gameplay loops either. So, is there Irish cream? Oh, there should be. Spot Bailey's. I don't know why I did this accent. I don't know. I went English. I live in flipping Ireland. I should know better. We get your spot of Bailey's in your coffee. Come on now, don't mess around with none of that basic shit. I swear it's even better. The thing is, I'm not drunk, and it's much better when I'm drunk. So, but it's too early for that here.
Is it?
Help yourself to the Irish cream and the coffee, even together if you like. Chief, what's new, baby? How's your Wednesday going? What's exciting this week? Chief Fox, a tremendous friend of the stream, a wonderful streamer himself, and just a fabulous dude. In fact, so much so that we're going to test this now, Chief, because apparently they changed this. Is this right? Does this do it now? Nope. Well, we know this works. Go check out the Chief. GTA 5 RP shenanigans introduced me to the world of GTA 5 RP, and I thoroughly loved it. And he's been a staunch supporter ever since, and I to he as well. Amazing community over there, and usually pops off right after stream, so you can carry over from here right into the Chief Fox stream. A frequent raid target of mine too. Much love, Chief. Thanks for coming by today. All right, let's get back to these settings. Like I said, for me, it's grinding up those. With the gifted, we are locked. Deploy decoys. Execute the noise and put your heads together. For Rave Scully, Brand, how perfect is that? Congratulations on your new sub, Rave Scully. Enjoy your emotes. There's a lot more coming down the pipe I'm working on this weekend. All new emotes, new animated emotes. New channel redemptions and point redemptions, new text-to-speech things that are going to be a lot of fun, and new ways for us to interact with one another, because that is my focus here. Thank you very much, Chief, for the gifted sub, and welcome, Rave Scully. You are now appointed to the board of directors. That's the quickest promotion ever. Just recently joined the C-suite, and now a seat on the board. You have a direct hand in how this organization grows and thrives in the here forward, so thank you and welcome. All right. Ship computer verbosity. If you find your ship computer is talking too much, you can turn it down. If you find your streamer is talking too much, that's unfortunate. You'll have to deal with it. There's no setting for that. Close your browser. Combat music. If you have music enabled, this just basically kicks off what is going on? Vegas! Vegas!
Old school, new lessons.
Welcome back to the board. A veteran member of the C-suite, a staunch supporter of the stream, and a valued member of this, our board of directors. The organization, our well-being, and fiscal stability relies on your good guidance, sir. Welcome back to the board of directors. Pleasure to have you. And how are you, Vegas? Yeah. I have to say now, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but it has a whole different connotation now, doesn't it? Old school, new lessons. Damn straight. Wait, it should say that out loud, so I have to figure out how to make the bots say the things. In any case, combat music. If you want the music to change, a la Star Wars-esque when you engage in combat, this will do that for you, presumably. Audio-driven camera shake strength, as always. We've already covered it. I don't like anything that artificially changes the visuals or gives me any kind of shake or blur, so I've turned that off. Play audio when the game is in the background. I have that on because as a streamer and creator, I'm tabbing out a lot. Or if you find you're tabbing out from the game, it's good to have on because if somebody attacks you or pulls you out of quantum, let me give you a practical example. You've set your jump to Stanton, to Crusader rather. You're jumping all the way across Stanton. You got like 5 minutes in quantum and you tab out to watch a YouTube video. Well, if you don't have your sound on in the background, you're never going to know, right? Yo, Silas, what's up, baby? The Spartan lead. Welcome, sir. Pleasure to have you in today. Hope you're doing well. I appreciate it because I know it's drawing late in the eve for you while it's midday for me. So thank you very much for coming by. Hello, 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 and welcome. I love those Spartan emotes. Yo Silas has some of the best animated emotes I've ever seen in the verse. And now that you're here, Yo Silas, I've been waiting to do exactly this. There you go. Give Yo Silas a look here. Did that go through? Yes, it did. Great friend of the stream, amazing community leader, tremendous Star Citizen creator and streamer. He deserves your attention. Go check him out. 7:30 a.m. And were you working tonight? Because you usually do the night shift, right? Oh, so you've been going the distance, haven't you? Always a good time, brother. We have got to get in game at some point soon. Looking forward to it. I'm finally starting to feel like I'm getting my legs under me in space, if that makes sense. So, and we're continuing with these settings as we go through. Like I said, having the game audio in the background is useful because you might step away, you might or tab out, step away virtually. You want to know what's happening in the game, especially if you get pulled out of quantum travel, or if you make your way to your destination and suddenly there's a bandit NPC there, they start attacking you. At least if you're, watching your Netflix, catching up on Picard or whatever you're doing, you're going to hear if something's attacking you and you're at risk of getting popped. So I usually keep that on so that when I am tapped out, that I know what's going on. You work every day, 16 hours, 5 days a week. Does that include stream? Or is that like outside of stream? Woo! That's the grind. He's on it. No stopping his money. His eyes on the prize. There you go. Got that energy. All right. And get that money, cuz. Going into the controls, we're going to go light through this. I'm going to have to come back to them, I think, another time because we've been doing this for some time, and I don't want the whole stream to be looking at menus. But we will get into this just slightly. One thing to draw your attention to when you're in controls, notice this box down here where it says mouse. You will toggle that between whether the controls that you're editing are for your joystick inputs, your controller pad inputs, or your gamepad inputs, whatever, or your mouse and keyboard. So be mindful that whatever we change here now is only going to affect our mouse settings. So that's key. Inversion settings, when we are in here, this basically is your ability to toggle whether your controls are inverted, like we talked about earlier. The only one that I usually invert when I'm in any kind of sim or game is flight pitch, because it's natural if you're in a flight sim kind of environment that you pull back on the stick, the nose of the vessel goes up, push forward on the stick, the nose of the vessel goes down. It's the only one I really mess around with. So we can change that all here. I can't imagine why you would want to invert your look up and left right in first person mode on foot. That just sounds crazy to me. I don't know. Oh, yeah, including stream. Oh, I got you. So that's that hustle. Thank you very much for the follow, Yo Silas. Welcome to the C-Suite. You are personally appointed and responsible for our well-being as an organization. So thank you for joining. We rely on your guidance and trust in your experience. Welcome on in. The C-Suite grows stronger with every minute. I can feel it in my bones. That deserves a shoulder dance. I like that emote, Ray Scully. That's nice. That's cool. It looks to me like do you guys ever watch Moon Knight? Looks to me like that like death god in the Avatar, or the god for whom Moon Knight is the Avatar. No, I'm saying, Captain, why are you stalling? Don't tell me what to do, number one. It's a little Gandalf quote for you. I literally just said that to trigger Bigley, and it worked. She's now triggered. Friend in the Philippines did them for you. Very nice. Very nice. Those are slick, dude. Slickens. Inverted settings on flight. The only one I do here is flight pitch, but of course it's showing no because it's reading on my mouse controls. If I switch this to joystick, then you should see it should be yes. There we go. It's for my other hostess. I use hostess or hand on stick and stick, a dual stick setup. So the only one that should be here is my pitch. Oh, because I have it enabled in the other side, so that's why you won't see it there. Anyway. Crazy. The only things I mess with here are sensitivity curves. This is where you're going to get really granular control over the sensitivity of your mouse, your scroll speed on your mouse, and the sensitivity and dead zone inputs of your sticks or your throttle, whatever you're using to control. $10 for 3 emotes. I'd say that's a steal. Who's Gandalf? Someone's weird German uncle? Uh-oh. The trolling is hard. The trolling's hard. Go in? What did I miss there? Oh, you're silly. Hey, there you go. We got her now, boys. We got her now. She's triggered. We actually saw Sir Ian McKellen in a panto last week in Dublin. It was pretty amazing. We got to see Sir Ian McKellen perform live on stage in this brilliant panto. And they worked in little like quips about Lord of the Rings and Shakespeare. If you know, Ian McKellen is quite an accomplished and incredible Shakespearean thespian. And he's very good at it too. We quite enjoyed it. And he had little drops where he'd glide into like Shakespearean monologue. And it was just chef's kiss, man. Brilliant. Bet he has a weird name for his unit. Probably calls it Frodo or Bilbo. My mini golem. Could I introduce you to my mini golem? It's Gimli? Yeah. Steph thinks it's Gimli.
A little bigger.
I've brought my own axe. It's far less creepy. Far less creepy that way. All right. No refunds. Okay. We were talking about dead zone earlier as it related to the analogy for ESP or enhanced stick precision. So if you think about the dead zone being the area around your joystick or input, if it's a smaller degree, your joystick is centered, it has to move this far before it starts to register input. If you increase the dead zone, it has to move further. Typically, I like no dead zone at all on my inputs. Sounds dirty when you say it like that. Because I want them to be responsive. If I move my joystick, I want things to respond immediately. The reason you want to play with dead stick or dead zone, though, is because you'll get things like stick drift. Or let's say if your hand just knocks your mouse. If your hand just knocks your mouse, you don't want your craft to be spinning around all over the place. So that's where dead zone is sometimes useful. And you can actually control it down to the nth degree here, which is kind of nice. In my case, I usually keep it to... what do we usually set at here? My joystick 1 controls my yaw, my x-axis. Yeah, it looks like I just keep this as 0.1 at 0.1. Flight is the important one for sticks because that's the only thing I use it for. So my sensitivity curves. Oh, I've changed these. If you're new to this, I would recommend setting them a little bit higher because the higher they are, they're going to be slightly more forgiving. There is this misconception in FPS games and any game that has controller input, which is basically all of them, that the higher sensitivity, the more responsive you are, the more pro you are, right? Like, we're not all shrouds. We're not all going to be flick experts and be able to just drill to a pixel on a screen like that from center. Most pros actually play with a much lower sensitivity setting than you might think because it actually gives you better control over micro aiming. So I'd recommend setting this higher. Here's the caveat. In this game, and only in this section, is higher actually a lower sensitivity. So the idea might be to like drag this up. If you move this, let me make sure I get this right. The lower you move this, the higher the sensitivity. So I have this at about 0.9. I wanted my strafe up and down, which is my left-hand twist. I needed to reduce that a little bit because the up and down thrusters on the ships are a little bit more touchy than the yaw and pitch, right? So I drilled that up a little bit because I found I would just give it the slightest twist and I would smash into the ground. So you'll have to kind of gauge those. Just know that when you're playing with these, whether you're mouse and keyboard or you're using Hostess or HOTAS or gamepad, that you're going to have to play around with these a little bit. And the more you increase the slider, the less sensitive it's going to be. The more you decrease the slider, the more sensitive it's going to be. That took me a while to figure out because it was driving me crazy. I felt like I was increasing the sensitivity and it was actually decreasing the sensitivity. So it's a little bit backwards there. Just keep that in mind. Same rule applies for turrets, ground vehicles if you're driving, and mining if you're using mining modules or a mining ship. So same rule applies. Feel them out. Adjust those settings accordingly. Make sure that your selection down here in the bottom right is the input that you mean to change, because otherwise you can go make a whole bunch of changes, try your sticks, nothing seems to be working, and you've been in mouse and keyboard the whole time, right? So keep that in mind. Dead zone preference. If you find you're getting stick drift or things are moving and you're not touching anything, your dead zone settings might be too strict. So you may come in and open those up a little bit. Saturation's a bit of a tricky one. We're going to look it up because I'm not really sure how saturation applies to these controls. I've never really heard that term used before this game, so according to this, we'll do some fact finding. I'll vet this off stream. I just don't want to you don't want to sit there and watch me browse the internet for an hour, but generally indicates the range of motion at both ends of an axis, which have a position equal to the minimum or maximum position. Okay, so think about dead zone, then think about the distance if you move your stick all the way to the left and then all the way to the right. It's how much weight does that movement actually have. If it's on 1, then it should be true 1-for-1 movement. That means I move it all the way left. That's a full range of motion. That's why I have these on 1. I knew there was a reason. I just couldn't articulate it. So saturation really depends on whether or not if it's a true 1-to-1 movement or you reduce it. Reducing this by that theory will probably make your sticks feel a little bit more sluggish. Consider this smoothing. You may have seen this referred to mouse and keyboard as mouse aim smoothing. This would be that version for joysticks. Okay, makes sense? If not, by all means, please do ask me. Happy to answer any of those questions. Keybinds. Speaking of the most subjective of the subjective, this is going to be a whole other treatise on its own. I don't use any of these kind of presets. Everything I do in key bindings are done through the advanced controls. It's this long, exhaustive list of literally everything that you can do in controlling the game. We'll take a quick walk through these. These are ones that I'm going to explore a little bit more on my own. This is kind of the meat of the next section that I want to do, because there's a lot of stuff in here that I just don't know what it does because I've never actually used it, and I've tried to keep it somewhat bite-sized in the interest of doing that. So, emergency exit seat will pop you out of your seat, presumably. I've never actually used it. Eject. Important to note that if you eject, at least unless they've changed it, this will also destroy your ship, or it has in my experience anyway. These are the mode toggles. So there are really 3 main modes when you're in flight, when you're a pilot. There is scanning mode, quantum travel, and missile operator, and then there's just normal. So scanning pulls up your scanning interface, great for identifying highlights that you've pinged in the game world. Quantum travel is your jump system for going from system to system, planet to planet, and point of interest, jump point to jump point on those planets. And then missile operator mode is a combat mode. You cannot you cannot action your weapon systems and your missiles at the same time. You have to switch out to missile mode. So it's important to know that what mode you're in, because if you're in missile mode and suddenly your guns aren't working, that's probably why. Unless they've blown the guns off your ship. There's a lot of options here, so I'm not going to drag you through all of them right now. But we'll see that as we get into the game, we might come back into this here and there. The key for this one are really on the first three, these optimizations to your gameplay experience, or these first 4 tabs, really. Key binding deserves its own process. Finally, I'm going to draw your attention to head tracking specifically. If you use a head tracker like TrackIR or Toby, this is going to be an important section for you. FOIP, or Face over Internet Protocol, I guess is what they're calling it, allows the camera to actually read my facial expressions and then superimpose those expressions on my character, which is pretty cool. We're going to get into that at a later date. I don't have it set up right now, but it's very cool for content, I think, if you're doing these kind of like cinematic pieces and all that good stuff. So I haven't set that up yet, but we'll look at it. I do have a Toby face and eye tracker, so this is where that section comes in. Star Citizen supports primarily TrackIR, Toby, and Faceware, which are 3 different head and eye tracking softwares, or systems rather, hardware, software. Head tracking general toggle enabled. We do want this on because we want head tracking and face tracking enabled in general. This requires us to also have a keybind set down here under VoIP, and head tracking, where we can toggle that on and off. So I have numpad by default / is the key to engage that. So we have that on. The next one's general use position offsets and cockpits. I usually have this off because it's about where the camera sits, and I don't want the camera angle to change. So what this does is if I move like this, it'll move the head camera as well in game. And if I'm adjusting in my chair, I don't always want the camera moving around. So I turn off the position offsets and cockpits, so that always gives me a central camera that then pivots, unless I roll my head. Auto recalibrate, I want on. What this means is when I engage and disengage the eye tracker, it'll center for me. So I do want that, because especially if I'm looking at chat, this thing is very sensitive and it's very precise. And if I'm looking anywhere on my screen, you'll see it move around. But if I look off at another monitor at chat, let's say, then my game screen is going to follow. And it creates just a bunch of funkiness. So I always have it to recalibrate. So if I turn it off, it'll center on the screen. I look at chat, respond to chat, and then come back to the game. You know what I'm saying? That's a key there. Auto recalibrate. Disable while seated. I don't want to. That's the whole point. I don't want it disabled while I'm seated. I don't have it disabled during FPS or first-person view because I can always disable it myself. And sometimes I may want... It's very useful to be able to be shouldered down a weapon, clearing a room, and be able to look to my right without losing where my weapon is trained on. So I like to keep that where it is. Disable during ADS. The caveat is when I'm aiming down sights or I'm in a scope, I don't want to be doing this either. I always want it to be locked in. At that point, I'm training on a target, so I don't want to be looking around all over the place by accident or otherwise. I disable it during mobiGlass as well. Once I'm in the user interface, I don't need my head to be... It's really distracting. If you have it on and you're in the menus, imagine you're trying to touch like a menu option and your head's doing this all the time. It's not good. Interaction mode, same rule applies. Enable roll-in seats. This lets me do things like this, so I can actually look under the dash. I can look out another panel of glass. I can look under my seat. Very helpful for that. Don't need it in FPS. External view, when I'm out of... I do want this enabled, and I want to be able to toggle it. When I'm in external view, especially if I'm looking at the back of my ship, this lets me move the camera with my head, which is great for taking screenshots and things like that, so I quite like that. The rest of them are sensitivity. We're getting into the system specific, so none of the faceware options matter to me because I'm using Toby, like I said. So input scale is like dead zone for Toby, or how far my head has to move to travel the same kind of distance. I usually keep this in the middle. Dead zone left and right means how soon after I start moving my head does the tracker engage. Dead zone forward and back, I have this high because I can actually do this to zoom in and out. But I find if I'm adjusting my chair and stuff like that, I don't want my camera to be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I keep this dead zone pretty high unless I'm very intently moving forward or back. Sorry, I don't want to scare you. That's basically what that affects. Same with dead zone up and down. Position offset based on rotation. I don't have any of that stuff on because I don't want the camera to move on an axis without my say-so. Gaze-based target selection. So this is great, especially for Toby. So there are two types of inputs with my tracker. There's gaze input, which is, like I said, really precise. I'm quite impressed with it. And there's head input. So what this means is I will be able to gaze at my target and it will highlight. So remember earlier we were talking about target selection and target lock. When you're just oriented towards a target and it just highlights and you get that little like beep, you're just selecting that target. You're not locked to it. So this will allow me to like look at a target with my eyes and select that target, provided the target selection option is enabled here. Where is it? Yeah, using targeting auto selection behavior, use look direction. Right? Yes. As long as that is enabled, then this will work and allow me to select my target with gaze. The other thing we had to change was my actual button to lock selected target had to be bound, obviously. So I have to look at the target and then hit that button and it'll lock whatever target I'm looking at. Extremely handy. It's a great quality of life improvement. I quite like it. Smoothing. Actually, we'll come back to that. Sorry, we're not there yet. Getting ahead of myself. Did we? Okay, sorry. Skip past this. When you see smoothing in any game, this means if you move your mouse left to right and your target your camera goes left to right, right? It can be a little twitchy, it can be jerky. Smoothing basically evens out the movement across an average of the whole thing. So if you go left to right like this, if you turn up your smoothing, it'll kind of create an average. So it just helps you smooth things down so you don't get too jerky with your movement. If you find you're over aiming or under aiming, it might help to just tweak your smoothing a little bit in concert with your sensitivity. So as you're adjusting your sensitivity, make sure your smoothing isn't maxed out, because sometimes if it's too strong, no matter what you do with your sensitivity, it can make it still feel sluggish. So if you're adjusting your sensitivity and you feel like it's not making a difference, check on your smoothing, because that might be too strong and might be preventing your sensitivity from actually working. Another function. So like I said, Toby has two types of inputs, gaze and head. This slider allows me to determine how much of it is one versus the other. I prefer to use my gaze rather than my head because I'm moving my head around a lot to look at other screens and stuff. So I don't want, make myself sick if I'm going absolutely crazy that way. So with my gaze, it's a little bit more functional for me to just use my gaze to look around the screen and interact with the game that way. So I like a heavier weighted gaze response. And then the responsiveness of that, it's a 1 or none, so it's a percentile basically. I either want 1-for-1 responsiveness or I can slow that down a little bit. I like 1-for-1. Gaze, like your eyes don't suffer the same manual lag that your hands do, right? That motor skill or manual dexterity or hand-eye coordination. The reason they call it hand-eye coordination is because it's the amount of time it takes your hands to react to what your eyes see, not the other way around. So my eyes are much faster than my hands, so I don't need like a slowed down response for my gaze. I want it to happen almost instantaneously. Then there's sensitivity. Center stabilization means how strong and in what area the camera centers. So every time I look, I don't want the thing to jump around. I want at least a little bit of a buffer, which is kind of like a dead zone for my gaze, before the gaze starts kind of happening. If I'm just looking just off center, I don't want the whole camera to move, basically. So that's what the center stabilization means. Auto center, if I engage or disengage, I want it to auto center. And if I stop looking away and I do something else, it'll slowly come back to center, which is helpful. And then the same settings repeat themselves. That's it. We've effectively gone through all the major settings. I'll continue to go through this and vet this, and I will be documenting literally what every single one of these does. Not what you should set them to, because that's going to be different for everybody. What my goal is to educate myself and hopefully someone else, if it's effective, on what they do and how they work so that you can make that decision for yourself. Choose the right settings that are most optimized for you and will help you be and become far more successful in the world of Star Citizen. So I hope that was helpful. A whole almost 2 hours into stream, and I have not even loaded a game. But I think that's important stuff, and it's often a question that happens. And I usually find in between iterations of the game, my settings always change, and I never remember like where I had them. But if you know what they do as opposed to what they're supposed to be, then it should be much, much easier for you to get consistent with what your settings are and how they can best be served for you. All right. We are going to jump into
Everybody,
the game right after a very quick break. Before we do that, I'm going to share with you a video that I created last week. It's all about the PTU. Today we're playing in the live environment. We're playing on the live servers. But if you want to jump into PTU and you've never done so, this guide's going to take you from start to finish on how to get the client, copy your account over, get into PTU, and get familiarized with the test environment and why you might want to do that. You might think, oh, why would I want to play and test? Why not just play the real game? But sometimes it's nice to get an early look at things that are coming down the pipe and what they might mean for you. So I hope you enjoy it. I'll be back in 5. Don't go nowheres. Hi, everybody. I'm Brad, a.k.a. Twinsticks and Ties, and corner, then go. Hi, everybody. I'm Brad, a.k.a. Twinsticks and Ties, and I wanted to put a video together to help guide people on how to access the PTU and get started playing and testing 3.18.1. Let's get to work. First thing you have to do is find and sign up for the Star Citizen PTU or Public Test Universe. This is done through your regular account at robertsspaceindustries.com, the regular game site. Click Account in the top right-hand corner, then go to the Settings tab, and on that window, on the left-hand column, at the very bottom, you'll see a highlight option titled Public Test Universe. If there's no active wave or testing rollout, this will usually be dimmed and unclickable. So go ahead and click that. You're going to get a confirmation dialog with an option that says copy account to PTU. Click on that. You'll get a green dialog that tells you that the copy of your account over the test realm is in progress. And now we just wait. Hopefully not too long. After a few moments, you should get a confirmation email to the account that you registered your game account with, and that email is going to have a lot of important links about how to communicate and interact with the testing community, but most importantly, it's going to have your very special PTU login credentials. Make note of those. You're going to need them to log into the test version of the community site. And this is where you log in with the same email you always have, but with the new password that was sent to you in that email. Now, this site is usually where you communicate with devs in the community about testing focus, things that you find, feedback, and bugs. But as of the time of recording this video and writing the article, there's no forums lit up just yet. I'm guessing because they've just launched this wave. Fear not, you can always grab the 3.18.1 test notes or any patch notes that go up on the live Spectrum site where you normally would. Now, the test version of the site looks like it's under construction. It looks like it's very undone, and it's supposed to be that way. In a normal test wave, the only thing you really use here are the tester forums that are at the bottom of the Spectrum site on the test clone of the site. So, you know what? Don't worry about that. It's just going to confuse things. All right, before we get to step 3, I've got a bonus tip for you. Nothing is carried over from the live version of your client to the PTU version, including your game settings, controls, audio audio settings, and your key bindings. So make sure you check out the written version of this guide to find the pathing where you can save your key bindings and copy them over to the PTU. So before we do anything, log into the regular live client like you normally would to play the game. I highly recommend that you take screenshots or recording, whatever you have to do, of your game settings so that you could quickly and easily replicate them in the PTU version. Go to your key bindings and make sure you export or save those under a file name that's going to be easy for you to remember. In the written version, I have the path, which is right here, and that's where the game dumps the file for those key binds, so you want to keep that in mind. Now we'll put that aside and get ready to log into the PTU server, which is step 3. Launch the RSI launcher and download the PTU client. Other videos or more data videos are going to show you a whole bunch of steps that used to be used to get the PTU client, but now everything is done through the RSI launcher, which makes it a lot easier. So where you see in blue letters live, which is where you would select the live server to play the game, you're going to click that. You'll get a drop down option that says PTU1 in orange letters, and that's how you're going to be able to launch into the PTU server. Drop down, select that. It's going to show you the update version, and now find something to do for a little while because you're going to have to download about a 70 gig client file, update and verify the files on your computer. Takes a bit of time. Once that's all done, you'll be set to load up into the PTU where currently 318.1 lives. Now at the Star Citizen game screen, we're going to tab out because all we need to do is launch the client to create all the PTU versions of the files, which is now where we're going to copy over those key bindings that we saved earlier. So go back to the bonus tip, especially in the written version of the guide, follow the client path to get to the files where those key binds are saved, copy them, then go out to the PTU version of the file and paste them in the mappings folder. That's it. Now you can tab back into the PTU game and go through the normal process you would to load those keybinds in, which is in options, key bindings, advanced controls, customization, and control profiles. Make sure you load up the right keybinds for the right inputs and map them to the inputs that you want, just like I'm showing here. Once you're done, you can go through the regular process of starting a whole new fresh game. If you need a hand on how to do that quickly, do check out my new player beginner's guide for Star Citizen 318, just to get you going quickly on a fresh start. You create your character, set your home city, and enjoy everything that 318.1 has to offer. But go into it knowing a few things. This is a test of a game that's very much in alpha. I know it's been frustrating for a lot of us and the Star Citizen team, so know that there are going to be bugs. It can be frustrating, it can be challenging, there can be hangs, all the other things that we experience on live, but amplified by the fact that it is a test environment. That said, though, it's a great opportunity and an exciting opportunity to check out new things that are in testing and coming down the pipe for live and get a bit of a head start on those mechanics and systems before they roll out into the regular PU. That's a wrap. I know it's a little bit confusing. Hopefully between the video guide and the written guide, it'll help you walk through it, but you can always DM me, message me, or jump in on a live stream and ask me in person. I'm happy to walk you through it. Took me a little bit of learning to get through as well. And on that note, the dedicated Star Citizen focused stream schedule kicks off Monday, March 27th, 6 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. GMT. I'd love to see you in chat and just play together. So if you found this useful, please do throw me a like, subscribe. I'd love to have your support in the YouTube channel. Check me out on Twitch or YouTube for that live streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. GMT. And we'll see you in the verse. Hey, there we go. Hopefully that was helpful. I absolutely hate eating on stream, so I had to do these things. Rain Scully, have a great day. You as well. Thank you very much for coming by. Such a pleasure to meet you. Thanks for joining us in the C-suite and now the board of directors. Have a wonderful day as well. We're just about to jump into game here. We are going to be basically running bounties for the rest of this stream. We're going to continue to get that rep, get that money. The goal is to get to... Oh, we got a high five. Bam! Thank you very much for the high five redemption. I'm glad you're there for those, Bigley, because I'm not seeing those come through. I have to get that figured out. I don't know why it's not reeling, but there you have it. Yes'm. All right. Our goal is to continue. We're working through HRTs or high risk targets right now. So our goal is going to be to hopefully get out of HRTs and into VHRTs today. I should be able to do VHRTs or very high risk targets in my Aurora MR with the build that I have. If you have any questions about the ship, the build, what we're doing. Oh, you thought I was leaving? No. 'Tis but a short break, I say. 'Tis but a short break. Nothing more. Yeah, so we're going to be getting into that. Let's switch out here to slightly big. So we're going to be focusing mainly. Okay, so now you can see like my head tracking is all engaged, and I don't want that. So there we go. I don't want head tracking at this point. We're going to be getting into bounties. We're going to, with the goal of getting all the way through HRTs to do our certification for VHRTs. And then if we're lucky enough and we make enough money, which is probably unlikely, the next goal is going to be to save up for an Aegis Eclipse. If we don't get to that, it's probably pretty far off. We might grab, we might just rent a little flight, do some low flying, a little ship and do some low flying, which is a lot of fun I've been practicing with. So, and in worst case scenario, if things don't work well for us and PU is just not having it today, then we'll pop over to the PTU, the public test universe, and we'll see what kind of damage we can get into over there. All right, so let's get it. You see under my list, my call sign in the Milsim organization that I play with is Outlaw 65. I'm part of our fleet fighter squadron. I'm specifically a fighter pilot, so I'm supposed to be pretty good at this. But you be the judge. Like anything, I have my moments, I suppose. You're actually hopping back into the game. Very nice, very nice. Are you rolling to get that, you grinding that rep as well then, Ray Scully? And guys, once we get through this first week of streaming, my focus will definitely be to jump into game with chat as well. So it's something that I've wanted to do. Actually, that's why I started this whole crazy racket, is because I wanted to play with people that I met online, because not many people are around when I'm around. So this is a great way for me to meet folks who are available in game at the time when I play, which is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. GMT, 6 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, we'll get in game too. You're also, oh yes, yeah, I like Grim Hex because, well, it's lawless. It's also local to where all the good missions are in Crusader. So I do quite like Grim Hex. What I used to hate about Grim Hex is there used to be a bug in the elevator from the med clinic. So if you respawned in Grim Hex, you had to do a bit of a janky workaround to actually get out of the elevator, which I did master eventually, but it's a pain in the ass. So, and if you do accidentally end up with a crime stat, you know, at least you're not totally screwed. So ASOP terminals are acting up right off the bat. ASOP, by the way, stands for Automatic or Automated Ship Organization Platform. We're on Hangar 2. As we go through this, you'll probably hear me practice some of my callouts and drills from the Milsim org, because I really need to keep that stuff sharp, and I find if I don't use it for long enough, it gets quite rusty. So if you hear me calling out like NPC call signs and stuff like that, all I'm doing is practicing, to be honest with you. I need that practice. It pays to be as tight and as quick with those as possible. And honestly, it's just good habit to make sure that everything on the ship's working properly too, and things are as they should be. Outlaw 65 pre-flight checks.
Welcome to Large Space Industries. Enjoy the ride.
Weapons green, countermeasures green, missiles green, shields green, hull green, emissions check, EM 4652 green, IR 4719 green, 65 pre-flight checks complete. '65 ATC requests disembark.
You are clear to launch.
Thank you. Control.
Takeoff complete.
65 mounted. Gear up. We'll just go here for We'll cruise while we get our first mission sorted out. As always, one of the first things we want to do, I'm going to grab my bounty mission since we're here. We're going with HRTs, so we're going to start with that. We are going to always make sure we have the call to arms mission active. It's free money. Literally any bandito you kill in this game, if you have the call to arms mission active, will pay you out just for those kills on top of any rewards you have for the business of your mission at hand. So, all right, we've got our target. Oops. Oh, I'm locked. There we go. We're going to Selin. I'm going to re-engage my tracker, my eye tracker, so you can see what I was talking about with like the gaze versus my head movements. So my head movements are a lot more grand, a lot more sweeping. I can look under the yoke a little bit. I can kind of peer around. But if I'm here and I just use my gaze, then I can look all around the cockpit as well. I can check my power. I can check my weapon systems. I can check my target. I can check my shield systems. Check my comms. The hardest thing I found about getting used to flying with the Toby or with the eye tracking was actually trusting it to go and look where I wanted it to be. All right, where is my target here? There we go. One of the things I dislike about Selin is the jump points are not usually on where the actual target is. I think this is going to be the closest NT. If you see a dotted line around the jump point, it means it's on the other side of the planet. And since this is 617K away, I'm going to guess that this is our closest mark right here. So we're going to jump to NT 999. 15. And we're off. There we go. Let's get it. Now we're into the game. The class is dismissed. Learning time is over. Let's get some tunage back. I really like this one actually. Let's go. This one gets me rolling, man. This is my intro music as well. I really like it. All right. I always like to get down to the planet as soon as possible and then fly in low. If we have targets that are planet side, I like to come in straight to the ground and fly in low. And it gets me a little kind of light low flying practice in too, you know? So no problems there. I just don't want to crash because then I lose my mission, and I'm not like super great at low flying or fancy at it, but I quite enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And I'm learning to do it better and better all the time. Also, this ship is terrible in atmospheric flight too. As we make our way to the target, 84K out. It's also not super fast, this one. I don't like low flying in the Aurora, really, because it's really tough to handle. But I like low flying in anything, honestly. Fuck, I love low flying so much. I wish you could make money for low flying. I don't want to crash continuous do barrel rolls near mountainous terrain. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this shit though. I really don't want to crash though, because it would suck. I'd have to start this mission all over again. We'll come around the mountain here, it looks like. I mean, we have a pretty long flight because of the planet that we're on, but... So I got to keep myself entertained. Man, look, my speed is like maxed out here, and I'm... Oh, shit, pull up. Ah, that would sucked. You okay, Vigley?
I'm laughing at you.
All right. Normally, this is where I'd use my speed limiter. You can see on the left side that throttle. I would yoke that down a little bit, but it's tricky because, like I said, it's really slow. 144 is really slow, and this ship is not great with the maneuverability. But this is basically the speed that I would low fly at otherwise. And I'm learning to pay more attention to the terrain and less attention to the pip. So this little thing in the center, you see that dual like chevron, that little like this, right? It's like this. That is the TVI or velocity indicator. And that's showing me what direction my ship is headed in. I'm going to pop this speed limiter back up because we want to get to our target eventually. Yeah, so that's basically showing me where my ship nose is headed, or where my ship's headed, what trajectory I'm on. So no matter which way I face my ship, right, it'll always be going in that direction. So I know I'm actually going up. No matter which way I point the ship, I'm still going forward a little bit, right? There we go. Now I don't want to make anybody throw up, myself included. So, all right, I got to get my engines back up. So I'm going to shift my power to thrusters. You can see that little meter slowly start to climb. We're going to come at this with shields at full until we get a read on our mark, and then I'll start making my calls and we'll make our attack approach. Multiple contacts bearing 95. Mark identified Yoshitaka Aravella, Anvil Valkyrie bearing 95, high hop bogey, 6-5 engaging. Ooh, I want to shake those missiles though. Oh my god, I gotta get away from those foxes. Fuck, you got me. Okay, that's alright though. So you see, I'm starting to black out because of all that rolling, right? But that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. There's my target. We have to be a little bit careful because we're slightly outgunned. I'm gonna keep my shields to focus. Oh shit, he just got one. See, this is, I don't know. I feel like they definitely changed. They definitely changed missiles. I gotta get out of here and regen shields. Did I just soft death? No. I have to say, like, I'm finding these way harder in this patch. I have to get out of here now or I'm gonna die. At least I get my shields up. If I can get out of atmosphere, then I won't have to worry too much about that loss of maneuverability. I'm only down one gun. Ugh. Having a really hard time controlling right now because of this. Right, my decoys do nothing now. I don't know why that is. But I'm finding that decoys just don't work anymore. If I can just get this guy down, at least then we can go and repair. So I'm trying to get close to him so I can orbit and take his turrets out of the mix, but the ads that he's with are pretty tough. So if I can stick to him right here. I want to make sure I don't blow him up, though, while I'm on top of him. Then we have... I control this fight with him now. But his crone... Because he can't touch me here. And he's about to lose his turret. Okay, we're done. He's done. So we'll get this.
Shields damaged.
His buddies are going to give me a really hard time, though. Okay, I'm behind him now anyway, where he has no shields. There we go. Okay, now I need to get out of here. So there we go. So I just killed my main target, like I said. So I got credit now for that mission. My goal now is to just get the hell out of here. And we're going to plot a course for somewhere I can repair, because that was a bit of a bad run. Dislike. Don't like that very much. We'll plot for Shuban mining facility. I know I can repair there. But we'll also just see where our next bounty takes us, because it might actually take us to Daymar anyway. Like, that was way too much work than it should have been for what we're getting out of it. Normally, I don't take that much damage. But like I said, I have definitely been having some issues with... okay, we're going to go to Shuban to repair. Actually, no. We'll go to Port Olisar if we can. There we go. Okay. Oh, I'm very happy today. I won't say anything else because I don't want to jinx it, but I'm very happy today. Let me just say that. Can I start this game and be the target? Can I pay to be on a planet just hanging out and bounties come to try to get me? Yeah, you can actually while I'm surviving our heart's planet. Then the bounty hunters get there and are wholly underprepared for the environment, and we end up working together to get off the planet. Dude, you could, Vegas. You could. And that's what my focus in this game is going to be, more on like the RP elements and the player-created content. So that's going to get really exciting in this game. You absolutely can do stuff like that. For some of what you suggested, you'll need players to kind of buy into it and play ball with you. But 100%... Oh, no. No, come back to me, game. No! All right, there we go. First crash of the day, guys. First crash of the game. First crash of the day. Bound to happen, unfortunately. Oh, well. That's Star Citizen life right now, unfortunately, especially in live. So we're just gonna verify files real quick, and then we'll close out and we'll restart. No big deal. At least we got paid. That's why it's really difficult for me to do things that like require me to get from point A to point B with all my stuff. Like looting is really tricky right now because that can happen anytime. I could have like a ship full of loot and then it crashes and I lose everything. So that's why I'm sticking with missions and ship-to-ship bounties right now. Yeah, so you can absolutely start the game and be a target. You just need a crime stat of level 2 or higher, and then players will start getting bounties for you, which is a really cool system, and it's one of many really amazing systems in the game that I just don't think Star Citizen gets enough credit for. It's very easy to like shit on it or gripe about things that are broken and what have you, and for good reason most of the time. But truthfully, we have to take a moment and appreciate like some of the systems that do work really well and are pretty kind of cutting edge. So yeah, you can absolutely, to be honest, Ray Scully, that might be just as much an issue with like my drivers. They've been a little bit funky. I need to update my to Windows 11. I'm resisting it hard though, man. and my video drivers are having some conflicts there too. So that's probably a me thing, honestly. It's not something I would worry about otherwise. Anyway, we'll just queue her back up and see how we do. Windows 11 is dope. Are you serious? Like, don't troll me, bro, because I'm like about to bite the bullet and just go with it. I'm just worried because I have so many moving parts, right, between stream and the gaming that I'm running and all of that working together. That's usually an update like that comes with like an hour and a half of troubleshooting after. So yeah, so players will absolutely get your bounty. You could be on a harsh winter planet like Arcorp or I think Yella is kind of like that. I don't know if it's winter exactly, but it's cold and shitty and barren and whatever. So you could do that, and you could hide out on that planet, and people have to come and find you. People would love that because, unfortunately, when players get bounties, usually, they tend to do something dumb, like just fly off into space and go autopilot and leave. And it's like, it's a way to avoid getting caught by other players, a way to get away from the game loop, and that really sucks. So whenever you have a bounty and that bounty is staying in the game and willing to play out the bounty with you, that's like, people really do appreciate it. So you could absolutely do it, and you can come talk to them. The hailing system in the game from ship to ship doesn't quite work right, but the proximity chat does work. So you could talk to them. If you were on foot anyway, they're going to have to get out of their ship and come after you. You could absolutely be covered in a bunker and be like, look, I don't want to fight. You know, I'm willing to pay you to go. I'll pay you double what they're offering you or whatever, however you wanted. Then from that point, you just need the other player to play ball with you, basically. So, but you could orchestrate that. You could do that. There are lots of creators who just make like movie style content and engagements here too. I don't want to crash continues to do barrel rolls near mountainous terrain. I love low flying. It's so much fun. I'll probably close out stream with a bit of low flying today because even just that little bit I did there was so much fun. It's great to do it in a proper ship. You turn the fasten seatbelt time back on as I'm bored in this flight and I'm about to start using evasive maneuvers. Pretty much, yeah. That's my game. I'm like, I'm bored now. I need to just like put myself at risk as much as possible. Deflectors at 75%. I wish it happened that slowly. It happened pretty quick in that one. I didn't even see what his cohort was, but they were like kicking the shit out of me. What I should do is draw my main target away, or even it might be at the point now with those where I have to take out the other ships. So might have to consider that because I am having a hard time with that like stick and move tactic that I used to use for HRTs, which is just getting quick, take down my main target, get paid, get that money, and get out of there. And I'm finding it's not working nearly as well anymore. So we might have to change up how we approach those, especially when we get into VHRTs where our primary target's going to be harder and their ads are even going to be harder. But I do like they've made it a lot more difficult, and I'm not complaining about the fact that decoys don't automatically throw missiles off. That's been a problem for a long time. It was like decoys are way too easy for getting rid of missiles. It almost took missiles out of the game. Like in an engagement like that, typically, if I had missiles coming at me, I just hit like decoy once and they'd all just basically be taken out of the fight. And it shouldn't be that way, you know? I think what I might have to do is increase the amount of decoys I fire in a set. So right now I'm firing 3. So if I have more than 3 missiles coming at me, it becomes difficult. And I also have to be conscious of where they're coming from. Honestly, that's on me more. That's on me from a skill perspective than it is from a game perspective. So let's see how we do here. Ooh. Feel like you could create movie loops, man. If you just need a couple of people to work with you on it, and you could do some incredible stuff in this game, and it's gorgeous. But it is a beast. It's a beast on resources. Bro, get good with missiles. Get good with avoiding missiles. No Biggie. Biggie. Biggie says. Yeah, you've been playing since 5 a.m. without issue. That's awesome, Risco. That's a great record. Solid state for the game. Solid state, always. Yeah, that's like, you do not want to run this game on an HDD. You need solid state for sure. Windows 11 is amazing? Really? Okay. I've become so gun shy around Windows updates, so. Orison is a gas planet. Absolutely. It's the gas giant. Sorry, Alexa. I hate eating on stream, but I also don't want to get hangry out here. Start dying for stupid shit. In any case, we back in it now, bros. So let's get to work. NVMe? Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Is it a desktop? So is that a laptop technology that's in a desktop, or do I not? I admittedly, I'm not like. I remember NVMe relating to laptops, but I don't know if I understand that right. It's not like getting Windows XP when it first launched. Oh my god, dude. Respect. That's good nostalgia right there, baby. Been using it for a while. Actually run better on 11 than you did on 10. Okay, maybe I'll go ahead and get that sorted out today after stream then. So Windows 95 is the GOAT. Oh man, remember that animated loading screen? It was just pure magic, baby. Pure magic. Skipped right over your comment. Yeah, but you live here. Yes, reading comments out of context so that you read the same comments twice. Look, nobody trolls me harder than Bigley, man. I'm gonna put a combination lock on the office. But then I won't know when anybody redeems high fives, apparently. Yeah, on your desktop, good stuff. So that's probably pretty easy to swap in and out, too, right? I also need a RAM upgrade. I'm running 16 gigs right now, which is really like, should not be doing that. I should have 32. I actually sourced another set of 16 sticks, so I'll be updating to 32 gigs of RAM first, and I think that'll make a huge difference. I was even looking at 3 series NVIDIA video cards too, like the 3080s now that they're like dirt cheap by comparison. This is video cards. This is GPUs in a nutshell, right? Like you just wait for the new iteration to come out, and literally the second they're available in retail, the previous generation drops by like $800. So the 3080s that were retailing at like 2,000 US a year ago are now like $360, which frustrates the hell out of me because you know that nothing changed in the cost. Nothing changed in the cost. You're in IT, so you built a Ryzen 3600 RTX 3060 ROG Strix 12 gig and 48 gigs of RAM. That's a nice setup for sure. Yeah, I'm mine's a Ryzen. Oh shit, what am I on? Mine's an AMD build too. It's a Ryzen with a Radeon 55 GTX, I think. 5500 GTX. Does that make sense? I didn't actually look at what hangar I'm in. And I guessed it correctly. Yeah, it's a good rig, man. That's a good rig. Yeah, I gotta get that RAM going for sure. I bet the RAM makes a big difference, eh? I gotta get on it. I won't do my flight checks again every time. You've seen them now. We know that you know what they are. I'll just mentally do them so I make sure that I don't like I don't leave here without like missiles or some stupid shit like that. So set our decoys. I'll set my decoys a bit higher this time to 4. Double up my missiles. I did forget to change my gimbals to auto, but I think they were on auto, weren't they? No, they weren't actually. We'll set our power to shields, just in anticipation of getting back to the mission. So that mission that we had is still live, so we're good there. I'm about to buy a new laptop and give my 7-year-old your old one. She's learned to read and got to make good on your promise for Minecraft. Nice. I keep putting it off like a good parent, as you do. You got better shit to do, man. Like, just relax, lady. Oh, and she wants you to play Minecraft with her, dude. You're gonna have a blast, though. I'm waiting for the next certification to pop so that I can go from HRT here, high-risk targets, to very high-risk targets, or BHRT. But as you can see from my last display, that might actually be a death sentence. There we go. Rusty Corbin hanging out on Yella. Not for long. Unfortunately, we're right here. I'm going to have to jump to Yella before it shows me the planetary jump points, though. So we'll go ahead and get that done. She wants to play Valheim, but I don't know if I can do survival up front. Like, oh, you want to do low danger so she can get used to controls. Man, Minecraft. Have you played Minecraft before? Before I say anything. Because Minecraft can be plenty dangerous too. Minecraft is survival as well, right? I guess it depends on what kind of server you play on. And you can like change the settings, but you can do that in Valheim also. That's sweet though. She's gonna love it. And you guys are gonna have a blast. And I'm sure Miss Gonzo is stoked for it too. Oh, Minecraft Dungeons. Yeah, so you mean like the roguelike, like the Diablo type game, or did they bring dungeons into Minecraft? So Bigley and I used to play together on stream. The channel was previously called Baz and Bigley, and that's where Baz and Bigley come from, our nicknames. And one of the first games we played on stream was Minecraft Dungeons. I liked it. Bigley hated it. But that's like most games. Well, that's not most games, but oftentimes one of us likes it, the other one doesn't. But she loves Diablo though. I mean the standalone version of Minecraft Dungeons. There's a mod for normal Minecraft to have dungeons. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, Minecraft Dungeons, I thought it had a lot of potential. It's pretty cool. All right, we're going to keep our shields up at full strength this time. And we're actually going to cycle to see what we're up against here, because that was an unpleasant surprise. We've got a Warden, Aegis Avenger Stalker, Warden, 2 hostile contacts bearing 20, Lionel Kingston, Aegis Avenger Stalker. Multiple contacts. CO Mustang Delta. Bounty target acquired. Donnie Rusty Corbin, Aegis Vanguard Warden, bearing 20, high hop bogey, 6.5 engaging. I'm just going to speed at this guy, and we're going to take a run at him, and then we're going to see if we can pull them up into the atmosphere. Godspeed. Or up out of the atmosphere, I should say. He's got a lock on me, but he hasn't launched yet. Alright, so we're going to chill here. Looks like his other cronies kind of effed off a little bit. There we go. There we go. Alright, so I can chase on him. I'm going to stay right on his 6. We're going to stay nice and tight here. And that's that. That's how we do it, baby. Now we're out of here. That's how we do it. Not a single shot taken. That is the equation, my friends. That's how we're going to do it. Tried Minecraft on the Xbox using a controller. Was just confusing. Yeah, those games tend to lend a little bit better to keyboard and mouse, especially like with all the build options and stuff like that, you know. We still don't have the next. Yeah, we still don't have the next assessment ready, so we'll keep going with HRTs for a bit here. There we go. Let's jack up the tunes a little bit. Let's get crazy. You guys feeling it? How's the music? Killing stuff's in the middle of space. Look out, bandits, 'cause here we come. Baz is coming in with a payload full of rockets for your ass. You're going down, 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 down. I make the music better. Watch out for that asteroid, fool. That was close. Woo. All right. Stop arsing around. 6-5. Focus up. All right. We know we want to come at these hot anyway. Julius Luther, Aegis Vanguard Warden, bearing 130, high hop bogey, 6-5 engaging. We're going to do a quick flyby here. There's one missile. He's coming right at us. We'll just dodge that pretty light. Nope, he got us. Fuck, he took out one of my guns again. What the hell is this? Like, that missile just always rocks that cannon right off my wing. Now you've pissed me off. I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my palms on the sticks as I gripped the throttle, pushed forward, and emptied everything in my conduit to try and strip the hull off this guy and get out with my own ass. I never take pleasure in ending another pilot's career. But sometimes it's the only choice I have. Whew. Man, these are tougher for sure. These are definitely harder than they used to be. I'm kind of here for it, not gonna lie. I quite enjoy that. Let's see if we can find a spot on yellow to repair here. Is there one? I could fly back to Grim Hex, but it's a bit of a pain in the ass to get in and out of. I just don't want to go too far without that. Oh, my mark is here. I don't want to go too far without that fourth cannon. Like, I don't need it, but I don't like being without it. Actually, we'll just go. Screw it. Whatever. Whatever. Man, she has the right idea. Diablo all the way. Yeah, we both love Diablo. And Diablo 4 currently available in early access for pre-orders. It's looking pretty cool. It's getting pretty good response. Very clearly, like, not quite ready yet. Of course, it doesn't launch until June. But that's going to be a good one as well. I'm excited for that one to come down the pipe. All right, we're going to jack up the tunes for a little bit here because this is do or die time. As my ship limped through the atmosphere of Yella, desperately making track towards my next mark. I knew I was at a significant disadvantage. But this is when all your training and the cool steely nerves come into play. In the hopes that training would guide me to a success, even though the odds were stacked quite heavily against me. Hostile times 3 pops up on my radar. 1 Valkyrie, a Saber, and a Gladius Valiant. But the only one I was concerned with was Ryu. It was his time to go. I don't make the decisions. I am but the messenger. My hand is not that of the law. My hand is honed for execution. I unloaded a full capacitor. Seemed to have very little effect, as his turrets trained on me and began to rip into my own hull. I got close. I could almost smell the carbon, and loosed another conduit. He tried to escape, flying low to the ground, but my low-flying training had tuned me for this as he crashed into the planet's surface. Fucking amateur. My shields were crying out now as missiles were launched in my direction. 4 decoys, 8 decoys as I spiraled out of the atmosphere. Hard hold on the handbrake and flip back around to my target for one final goodbye. Nice try, Ryu. Today is your day to die. Oh, and I killed myself too. The impact caught me too egregious, maybe a little cocky, as the soft death gripped my ship and she floated helplessly. In a last measure of desperation, I tried to escape, but it was too late for me too. The piercing eject alerts coursed through my ship as I rocketed out into space and awaited rescue from the fleet. How's that? There's a cool band called Arc de Soleil that offers royalty-free music. It's more chill sound. Nice. This is my low-flying playlist, actually. It's kind of a mix of lo-fi and high energy. At least that's the idea, anyway. Does Picard get better in season 2? We really liked it. I hate to say anything, but I will say that season 2 was my favorite season so far. Is that like vague but helpful enough? Man, I was caught up in the moment, which I really enjoyed, actually. It's kind of fun narrating that way. But I should not have died there. That was just reckless and silly. That was just dumb. That was my dumb. Bro, you're ripped. I know, my dude is freaking jacked. So this is funny, actually. I tried to make like my character look like me as much as possible. It kind of like... The character creator is actually really good. I'm not unhappy with it. But it's a constant reminder of how shredded I'm not, though, now. So, I don't know if... yeah. That was the idea anyway. And suddenly I'm like, I don't know, he's kind of a good-looking dude, and does that make me seem like a narcissist? But I lean into it. That's where I got the banner on the channel. If you see the banner there, it's like me and my character dressed the same. Because I went and bought him clothes that looked like the clothes I was wearing. I think it's cool. I'm really happy with it. But at the same time, I'm like, it's a little bit like self-indulgent. But I just did it for the banner, okay? Don't read into it too much. Season 1 was decent. Yeah, I liked it. I actually quite enjoy it. And I'm a huge, like, The Next Generation fan. Bigley and I both are, of course. Like, man, that show holds up. If you get like on Netflix or anything like that, you can watch all the way through Star Trek: The Next Generation. It holds up, man. It's so good. See, I think I'd be more like Star-Lord, listening to classic 70s light rock while in high-octane battles. I love that idea. Don't love the DMCA strikes it would get me. Though I was looking into something today that Twitch has rolled out called Twitch Soundtrack. And what Twitch has done now is they've rolled out basically music that will superimpose over your stream, but will not save to the VOD. So you don't get strikes for whatever's. I have no idea what's on there. It's like curated playlists. So who knows what they have available on there, but
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following locations.
seems like a cool idea anyway. Might be worth checking out. Because I don't really care so much about the music being available on the VOD. I just want to have good music during stream. I like these playlists, though. These are good. A lot of these are creator created as well. So they're all like DMCA free, royalty free, and stuff like that. And some of them are actually quite good. Oh, I missed. Actually, this is not my lo-fi playlist. I forgot. Let me see. Let me throw that one on. Actually, this is my lo-fi playlist. It's a little. There's a little more lo-fi, more chill music in it. Not quite 70s rock, but. All right, we'll just do some mental system checks here. I did notice that time though, when I had more decoys queued up, it seemed to work better. So we'll stick with 4 and we'll see how that goes. We don't need to do that actually. Oh, we have a number of people just undocked at the same time. That could have been Harry. Are any of you trolls? Any of you looking to fight? Actually, oh my god, don't, so hold on a second. Somebody's got me locked. 6'5" Spike, Scorpius Centaurus, Taj. Hot, unknown, 2K in closing. He's coming after me. Yeah, there we go. Nice try. I'm just going to quantum out of here, though. Otherwise, I'd fight him, but I'm in the middle of a jump. That was dumb. So my next call would be 6'5" defending to let my fleet know that I'm being attacked. But I can't just turn on and fire him for targeting me. I have to wait till he attacks me and until he cons red. Otherwise, I get crime stat. And I ain't trying to play like that right now. If he follows me through and he flags, then I'll fight him. Happily. So this guy's still damaged. He reset to his position. That's really strange. And his cronies are gone. But I thought I popped this guy, but I guess not. I guess I'm the only one who suffered a soft death that day. No, all his buddies are there too. Shit on it. Okay. Multiple contacts. Anvil Valkyrie, Aegis Gladius Valiant, Aegis Saber. Target identified. Ryu Acharya. Anvil Valkyrie. Bearing 110. High Hop Bogey. 4400 in closing. 6'5" engaging. So we're going to rip into this and hopefully it will... we're just going to keep gliding underneath him here. And then I'm going to continue up into the atmosphere. So like I said, we got to pull his cronies away. And then I can twist back and wait for him to come after me. And watch out for those. Okay, so I dodged the 2 missiles. I don't know why they're still coming at me. Look, like these missiles are flying by me and still coming at me. That is not correct. Like, that's not... Okay, I've dumped 12 fucking decoys right now. And it hit me. And there go, like it hit me. And there are my shields. So that's not right. Like, that's not just missiles working better. That's just not correct. Unless it is. I mean, I don't know. Fuck, maybe it is. Maybe it is correct. Either way, I'm probably going to ride this guy into the ground now. Or maybe the simple truth is that you can't really effectively do HRTs in an Aurora anymore. Solo. I'm not taking a lot of hits, and this guy's ailerons are blown, so he's going to be out of control here for a bit. There we go. I'm going to get my shields back up and get the hell out of here, though. Because this is definitely bad for me. Let's just screw it. Let's take out these guys and see how easy and fast it would be just to kill his cohort. Maybe that's the answer, too, you know? He just rammed me. What a fool. No, they definitely did make like AI better, which is great. I'm totally here for that. Cause we've been wanting that for a long time. Like the game just was missing a bit of a challenge quotient. But I'm starting to think right now that for these it might be better for me to take out all the cronies. Especially that Gladius Valiant. That's the one that's doing all the damage to me. That's a tough fighter. That's a great ship. Like that's what I probably should be flying for these, honestly. Try and get closer to him. Try and get a reverse angle on him and circle strafe into him a bit here. There we go. So he's screwed too, pretty much. The turn rate on the Aegis is much better than mine, so I'm not really going to have a lot of luck trying to out-turn him. There we go. Okay. So, by that logic, it's probably much easier to just take out all the other enemies. I'm just going to keep going with my ship in this condition. Because if I blow up, it's not that big a deal. Still having an eye out to see if I get my next certification up, but it's not here yet. So we're going to keep going with my ship in this condition. If I lose it, then I lose it. We'll just come back. It's not that big a deal. Next one's on selling. Have to get out of orbit here. Viking music. Is that a good thing? Some good old Viking music. That sounds good to me. That's my speed for sure. Where's my orbital marker? Here we go. There we go. Okay, we're heading off to Sullen, and hopefully my ship will hold up. Yeah, that's tricky. They definitely introduced a difficulty quotient, which is actually really nice. I am quite happy for that. I'm not happy that I can't calibrate to Sullen. There we go. Is the volume okay on the music? Ugh. Let's go, let's go. Let's get a close up for the shoulder dance. You can't hear it, so I'm just dancing like an idiot for no reason then. How's that? Can you hear that? Send me an ARC song via Discordio. Very nice. I will check it out. Post stream. Oh, look how far I have to go. How shitty. I'm just going to double check to make sure that that is the closest to my target. Listen. Yeah, it is. NT9. You can hear the music lightly. Anybody else? Because, like, much love Vegas, but sometimes Vegas cannot hear things and everyone else can. I don't want to jack it up if everyone else can hear it okay. I mean, shit. I would destroy everyone else's ears just so Vegas can have a good listening experience. You know?
You need me to check.
No, because I can hear pretty well mixed in here.
You want me to check?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, do it anyway. It's there, just lighter. It should be a bit light. Let me check it here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, it's good now. I just adjusted it a little bit here.
It was already fine.
How is it now?
It was already fine.
How is it now? How is it right now? How is it right now? Oh, man. Coming in. Okay, so I immediately notice. Hush, Bigley. It's perfect now. Good. Behave, you two. I immediately notice a difference in the responsiveness or lack of in this ship. Because I'm, like, so damaged. Here's, like... Oh, actually, it doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look that bad. There's me. There's us.
Do you want it, the screen to switch? Right. Switch your screen. Switch your screen.
Got it. Yes, stop screaming at me. Jesus, Bigley. Fuck's sakes. Your music and game sounds good, good, good. All right, good to know. Because it sounds better in my ears, too. I just don't want to scream, that's all. That's what I have Bigley for. Here we go. Let's get it. We're 64K out. So I'm just going to... While I'm having a lot of fun flying low like that, I'll just blast forward and get there. Power to thrusters. Right upper aileron, lower aileron, port, upper aileron, and front chassis, all status red. Weapon system good. Shields green, hull red. At this point, I would definitely be requesting return to base for repairs, but I'm also functional, so I might not need to necessarily. Multiple hostiles, bearing 75.
Radar contact.
Contact, Boyd Cassera, Aegis Vanguard, Warden and bearing 80, high hop, bogey 65 engaging. Good. Those are off. We'll come right over the top here. I'm going to invert. Oh shit, no, I don't have the fucking... I don't have the agility to do it right now. Man, this vessel's not having it. My ship is like so tapped out right now.
Sorry to interrupt your stream. A very important question.
There we go. He's stalled in the atmosphere, so I'm gonna... shit, well, he just warped across the screen, so that's fun. This should be it for him. His buddies aren't really near me. There we go. I'm just gonna get out of here. Ooh. Yeah, I think we'll stay with this ship until it's dead, pretty much. Yes, I know you're tapping on my shoulder.
No.
If I'm not paying attention to you, it's because I'm just waiting for an
It's
opportunity.
very important.
Yes, I'm sure it's very important.
It is.
There we go. So guys, we have some installers here to do some work today, and they may have to shut down the power. Music must be too loud. Not loud enough, maybe. I'm just gonna kill this guy because I'm pissed now. Yeah, this ship is not having it right now. Whew, so hard to control right now. Interestingly, it's not showing damage as much, but it is definitely hurting. We'll take out this freelancer. If I get close enough to this freelancer and I can orbit him, I've got him easy. But it's so hard to control my ship. Oh my god. It's so hard to control my freaking ship right now.
Shields damaged.
So the freelancer can't touch me. There we go. Ooh, that might be a fun one to board, though. Oh, that's a bug where that's actually listed in the known bugs where some ships have like an invisible hitbox. Where did that freelancer go? So that would have been cool to mount him. Ooh. 10 power shutoff requires a discount. Yeah. It was kind of agreed to beforehand. But you know what? I usually stream for about another hour, so we'll go for as long as I can. Cause we're kind of in the groove and I'm feeling it, baby. I want to roll. It's all good. But if not, I'll be back Friday to kick off the week's end and celebrate the end of the week. Hopefully with you guys here again. Let's see. Did we get an upgrade? Nope. So I'm waiting to unlock the next certification, which will let me get higher bounties. Actually, where am I here rep-wise? I can always just keep an eye out over here. Okay. So I need to hit level 4? No. Where is it? It's Crusader. Yeah, Crusader Security. What is it? Oh, maybe it's Bounty Hunters. Oh, it's Bounty Hunters Guild. I need to hit veteran. Okay, that's what I need. I need to hit veteran, tier 5. That's what I got to keep an eye on. I wish there's a way to track this. There's not, is there? Yeah, okay. Just open it up and look with your face, I guess. Just know they'll give us a heads up if the power's going to be shut down. Yes, yeah. I'd like them to give me at least 15 minutes.
Then that'd be
The best streamer is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I get the Basil in the morning and the Doc in the afternoon. Nice one. Nice one. Then that's now 15 minutes heads up is now. Okay. All right, guys. We might have to end stream early. I was so in the groove, too. Let's see if we can get one more bounty done. Bro, let's fight these guys. I did hire them, though, to do what they're doing, so that would make me a shitty boss. And my whole shtick on this channel is nice guy boss, you know? That would make me a fairly shitty boss, I think. Which, by the way, we're going to continue to evolve the stream, and I'm so excited with the plans I have coming down the pipe. New point redemptions, new streamer integrations, new interactions. We've got new widgets and stream games to play together. This is going to become the most interactive Star Citizen stream that you will experience at this time of the day. That is my goal. And of course, all built around the idea that we are a company, a collective of individuals working for a better, brighter future in Stanton and beyond here in the verse. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I have had a blast, as I always do. And I really hope to see you again. If you haven't done so and you're watching, hit that purple heart, throw me a follow. Great way to show love. Costs you absolutely nothing. Even if you're lurking, totally fine. Show some love, come back, lurk away, put me on in the background. Chill vibe, jump in on the fun giveaways and games that we'll have coming down the line. I'm really excited to share that with you guys. I've got lots of work to do this week and over the weekend. Oh, you know, that's helpful too. I didn't have my tracker on. It's quite jumpy right now, I have to say. This guy's jumping around all over the place. What are we fighting here? It's a hurricane. Okay. That's a tough one in an Aurora on a good day. Hurricane's pretty tricky. I gotta watch that dorsal turret. Fuck. I gotta stay on the other side of that. So I'm gonna try and stay underneath him here. Because I don't want him to get that back turret on me. So I'm gonna try and fly under his belly and just stay right there. Right here in the slot. Where he can't hit me and I can wreck him. Alright, since this is probably our last one, we'll get the cronies. We got an Aurora LM. Getting close to him and staying behind is going to be key. Because I know he doesn't have any rear turrets. And if I can come up on his 6 just like that, he's fucked. Alright. Next up, we got an Aegis Gladius. Please don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Don't you crash. Don't you crash, bro. Well, as you can see, I did get 12K for that. Scar, what's up? You're not actually flying into an asteroid field. I certainly am/was. Oops. That's not what I wanted to. Here's the intro. As you can see, this is probably a fitting end for an early close to the stream. Scar, welcome. I'm so sorry that I have to end stream a little bit early. We have some folks doing some work in the house. So they're going to get focused on that, and they have to shut down the power for a little bit. So I've got to end stream. I got to bring my system down, flip off all the outlets and all that good stuff, so I don't run into any surge issues. But we're going to take these last few moments. Let's see, I'll just go ahead and... Nope, I apparently am not even going to Alt F4 out of this, so... All right, in the meantime, There we go. In the meantime, we'll see if we can find a suitable target. I'm going to raid you guys out because we do want to share the love. Spread the love around. Here we go. Let's see who we've got doing the thing and kicking it live today. Let's go give some love in the verse. Let's keep the love in the verse today. Let's throw to somebody who is like us, growing. Do I have anybody on my list? I don't know if I have anybody on my list. I don't think I do. All right, we're gonna. Okay, I don't have anybody on my follows list who's in Star Citizen, and I'm still new to the category. So what I have to do, my homework, is to explore the Star Citizen category and find some great folks who are like us, who we want to throw that love to when stream is concluded. In the meantime, actually, we'll go to Blasphemous. Here we go. Okay, I do have somebody. Let's get it right here.
It's on Amazon here.
Mine's like marbled.
Blasphemous is a great streamer. He's a bigger fish than we are, but he's a super nice guy. I hope you guys enjoy his stream. I hope you've had a really great time here today. I know I sure as hell have. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys again on Friday.
I want to get me a couple more eventually. I got some pretty cool looking ones.
All right, we're going to do it this way. Bear with me, gang. My friends, this
I don't know
is a little scripty script
that literally
that you can do when we get over there. We're going to raid Blasphemous.
I was looking for Tundras.
Yeah.
And that cup holder has been the bane of my fucking existence.
Here's the flat black. I want to get a flat black one. And there's a couple more that I saw that I was like, man, yeah,
all right. Brewmate says 12-ounce cans. I don't drink 12-ounce cans or 16-ounce cans.
It'll fit a 12. Hang on.
Well, it says slim cans. I don't.
Oh, okay.
Well, here's a Yeti Rambler 16-ounce Colster tall can insulator for tall boys and 16-ounce can.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Slim can.
Okay, thanks, Golden. See, I got new mentions. Somewhere. Jesus, where's it at?
It's all 24 ounce. Jesus.
All right. Well, allegedly, I have new mentions. I don't know where the fuck it's at, but.
Why did they say slim can?
That's what I'm saying. I don't have a slim can. These are like normal size cans, but they hold 16 ounces, so they're tall. So like they have a Yeti Rambler that specifies 16-ounce Colstar tall can insulator for tall boys and 16 ounces. I mean, this is a tall boy to me, but I don't know.
Oh, hang on. I think that's 12 ounce.
Where are you sending it, Golden? I'm not seeing it. Oh, and Discord. Oh, yeah, just got it. What the hell is a cupholder.stl? Is that for his 3D printer? I don't have a 3D printer. I was depending on Chris.
Yeah, these are all like fucking small. Yeah. What the fuck? Why is it so hard to find a regular fucking sized can one?
That's what I'm saying. Well, it's regular to us.
All right, sorry guys, that was like a major tech flop
Like,
on my
you know
behalf.
all that shit's made for people that drink alcohol. Come on.
I'm still working
yeah.
on practicing my sticker.
Like
Okay,
somebody
so
with
let's
their
pretend that
Slim
none of that
Natty Light or
happened,
whatever.
and
Fucking
now we're doing
Claws,
this,
bro. Oh, that one's cool.
and we're doing this.
I like the
I don't-
color of that
I
one.
don't
We're doing
drink
this.
alcohol, so I couldn't tell you. what
Okay,
size
guys, we're
cans
gonna
they
raid
use.
out to
I just know that
Blasphemous. He's a
seems
great
like
Star
it
Citizen streamer.
specifies
He is
tall
doing
boys
some.
on
Looks like
this
he's
fucking
shopping for
Yeti
beer
can
or
holder.
something right now. I'm not exactly sure what, but he was playing PTU.
Like I don't
Let's see
necessarily
what
need
he's
it in a
got to
koozie,
say.
but at least it'll help
Make
me
sure you
keep
give him
track of
some
which
love. Go
one's
ahead
the
and
new
throw that
can.
raid script in chat when we get over there.
Like, I always
And
just set the
say
old
hello
ones
to
off the
Raid
side and
when we get in
I
there.
clean
Everybody
my
on
office
board,
out
if you
once a
don't
day,
mind.
you know.
Thank you so much for
You
hanging
got
out with
yours
me
from
today. I
Marvel
so
Point.
very
Bruh,
much
if I
appreciate
was
you.
collecting these toys,
Always have a
I
great
would
time.
have
We'll
so
be
many
back on
fucking
Friday
coasters
at 6
and
a.m.
koozies
Eastern,
and shit.
11
Here
a.m.
it is. There we go.
GMT.
Found
Be
it.
sure to drop back
Like I got enough
as we
monster
finish a
tabs
great
in a
week
drawer
and
around
kick
here
off the
somewhere
week's
that I
end
could buy, like,
and a whole
4
new
of the
evolution of
monster
this
chairs.
evolution
Thank you so
evolution
much
of
for
the
calling.
stream. We're working on brand new
I'm just not convinced they're as
viewer
comfortable as they are
point
decoration.
systems, engagements, interactions, new in-stream games, all kinds of good stuff, new overlays, new streams. We continue to
Anyway,
evolve
I
the
don't know.
new
I think I'm
branding
probably just gonna get
of
one
the
of
Twin
these
Six
Yeti
and Ties Star
Ramblers with this
Citizen
buy
stream.
now
Again,
button.
thank you so much. I'm very
Up
grateful
and
for you as always. Have a
Popsulator
wonderful
Twist
rest of
is
your
the one
day,
that-
and we'll see you right back here
or
next
trio?
Friday. Happy
so.
gaming. Be good
It
to
is
one
the
another.
Popsulator
You know where to
Trio.
find
That's the
me.
one that I have.
Enjoy.
It comes with a lid, so you can regular space. I don't want it to have
Opsulator twist.
Yep, Popsulator Twist. That's the one you're looking for.
16-ounce
Oh, here we
slim
go.
aluminum bottle.
Twinsticks and Taz, thank you so much for the raid. Yeah, it's the Popsulator Twist. That's it.
Just get a link and send it.
What
Just
color?
full send it. I don't give
Black.
a shit.
For 16-ounce slim aluminum bottles. That's it.
Yeah, because the one I found says slim aluminum bottles, and that's not gonna work.
I don't know.
I think.
I'll get Husky to find it.
Okay,
Well,
I'm
Thank
gonna
you
get
so
one
much
of these
for the
Yetis.
raid. My guy, I hope you had a great stream.
I'm gonna get one of these Yetis for now.
Okay, there.
And then wait patiently for my wife to steal it from me.
Stand by.
Wait, hang on. What is
Your
it called?
vehicle has been delivered to the following
bought the game a
location.
week ago. I'm wondering if it about. Goliath. That's a common issue that they're working on fixing. What you could do is download the PTU, which is what I'm playing on right now. Been playing on it lately so that everybody can play. If you want to do that, just type exclamation PTU, and it'll explain how to do so.
Wow, it started raining.
Twinsticks now. They're shopping for I was trying to find chat one of these, a brewmate can koozie thingy.